Beautiful day in the San Francisco Bay Area, so take a ride across the Bay Bridge with us to the East Bay, to Oakland, high above the O.co Coliseum for tonight's game as the Oakland Raiders come out onto the field. And they're led by a new head coach, Jack Del Rio, who spent 9 years as the Jacksonville head man. Takes over. His quarterback is Derek Carr, who started all 16 games as a rookie last season. And tonight they'll take on Carson Palmer and his Arizona Cardinals on NBC's Preseason Sunday Night Football. Now Michaels with Chris Collinsworth and Michelle DeFoya. Welcome to Oakland. Well, last year the Arizona Cardinals got off to a great start. They were 9-1, but a slew of injuries did them in, so they faded down the stretch, lost in a wild card game, but have very high expectations for this season, led by Bruce Arians, and all he has done is win Coach of the Year honors of the National Football League in 2 of the last 3 years. The Raiders, on the other hand, 0-10 to start last season, finished 3-13, so obviously a lot of house cleaning here, a lot of new players, a lot of free agents, some good-looking rookies, and almost a totally new coaching staff headed by Jack Del Rio, who comes in to guide this team. Hopefully, he hopes, the Raiders hope, the city of Oakland hopes, back to the prior stature that this team had years and years ago. So, Chris, when you hit rock bottom, as the Raiders have done, there's nowhere.
You're talking about me. I didn't know.
Okay.
I
would have started to. There's nowhere to go but up. But realistically, how probable is it for this team to rise to like a playoff stature?
I still think they're probably a year or two away, don't you? You know, but I do think that Jack Del Rio has added some stability to this franchise, and they have some of the most exciting young players in the National Football League. Derek Carr, an outstanding quarterback, 21 touchdown passes in his rookie year. Amari Cooper, outstanding at the University of Alabama. He could be fighting for Rookie of the Year this year. And Khalil Mack, he is one nasty defender. You're going to enjoy watching him tonight.
They're probably not in the Super Bowl conversation, let's face it, but Arizona certainly is. So what would the Cardinals have to do to get there?
What they didn't do last year, which is keep Carson Palmer healthy. You know, they didn't have their second loss until the middle of November last year. They have had some protection issues already in the preseason. They need to keep him upright. They reshuffled the offensive line again out here tonight. But if Carson Palmer stays healthy for the entire season, there are no limits on what the Cardinals can do.
Well, the next to last preseason game is always referred to as the dress rehearsal. So tonight we're going to see the starters for a half, maybe even more, including guys like Larry Fitzgerald and Patrick Peterson, as Arizona meets Oakland on Sunday Night Football. Well, for the last couple of seasons, Jack Del Rio has been the defensive coordinator of the Denver Broncos. Now he's the head coach of the Oakland Raiders. Moments ago, down on the field with Michelle DeFoya.
Coach, you have taken the helm of a team that over the last 12 years has had the worst record in the NFL, and yet you've told your players you want to win now. How do you accomplish that kind of turnaround?
Well, we're just providing the vision of what we want it to look like going forward. We're not really worried about the past. We have a rich tradition here. We want to use that, build on that, recognize that, but we're all about showing our players the blueprint for going forward.
Your quarterback, Derek Carr, started all 16 games last year as a rookie. He's had to learn a new offense. What are your expectations of him this year?
He's a good player. He's a good young player. I'm excited about Derek and his development. We want him, like everybody else here, we want him to continue to develop, continue to progress. There's a long way for him to go in terms of growing and maturity and what he can become. But he's got great work ethic. We're excited about that.
Coach, thanks very much.
Thank you.
And here in Oakland for Del Rio, his football life has come full circle. He's a Bay Area native who grew up a diehard Raiders fan. He went to Hayward High School, just 10 miles away from here, where he was a star linebacker. So, after 30 years of playing and coaching in 8 other NFL cities, he said it's, quote, awesome to be home, and he told us he's always a Raider at heart.
All right, thank you, Michelle. He had a tremendous playing career. There's Bruce Arians, who left Pittsburgh 3 years ago. It looked like he might be out of football. They announced in Pittsburgh that he had retired. Turned out to be anything but. Went to Indianapolis. Did a terrific job when Chuck Pagano got sick, and now in his 3rd year here. Sebastian Janikowski, the long-time, 16 years, in fact, kicker for the Raiders. To put it in the air, Arizona won the toss. They have elected to receive, and the game begins with Kerwin Williams and a touchback. The Arizona offense, Carson Palmer came off that knee surgery following last season. Ellington is the running back. He was hurt a lot last year. Fitzgerald, one of the greats. John Brown, a lot of speed. Fells, the tight end, and Muma, the other tight end. Up front Veldier played here with Oakland, then came over 2 years ago. They've got A.Q. Shipley at center. He comes over from Indianapolis, and a lot of eyes on Jonathan Cooper, who was a very high draft choice, picked #1 by Arizona in 2013, but oft injured. We'll see what he can do. Meanwhile, Palmer starts, and that's Fitzgerald for a 5-yard gain out to the 25-yard line. Last 15 starts, 6 of which were last season, 13-2. Great TD to interception ratio. And Carson Palmer last year got hurt early, came back, and then he was done for the season in a Rams game when he suffered a torn ACL, underwent surgery, and of course, as Chris said at the top, they keep him healthy. It's a whole different team. 2nd down and 5 from the 25-yard line. Inside handoff, and Ellington will scoot to the outside, breaks an ankle tackle, and that's Charles Woodson in his 18th year making the stop. It'll be 3rd and 1. Meanwhile, the Raiders defense, a lot of changes there. Dan Williams played in Arizona the last 4 seasons, so they bring him over. They also have Justin Tuck, but he's not playing tonight. Should be ready for the opener. Curtis Lofton, longtime Falcon. In the middle, Malcolm Smith comes over from Seattle. He was the Super Bowl MVP a couple of years ago. We talked about Charles Woodson. There he is, the Heisman Trophy winner. Back in 1998, he was a rookie, same year that Peyton Manning came into the league. 3rd down and 1 now. And they keep it on the ground. And if they can get a ground game going, Chris, that was the problem last year with Ellington. He got hurt. They couldn't run the ball at all.
There's no question that they have just struggled. Both their lead running backs, Stephon Taylor and Andre Ellington, both average just 3.3 yards per carry. And Dan Williams, right here in the middle of this, your screen, is going to make the play on this one. But this is a football team that absolutely has to be able to run the football better this year. The passing game, the weapons on the outside, sensational. They just have to run it better.
From the 31, Fitzgerald, he'll motion a lot. He did it last year. He'll do it again this year. He cuts over the middle. Palmer then goes that way too high, has it picked off at the 35-yard line, juggled, and they're going to say that he was out of bounds. Nate Allen, who comes over from the Philadelphia Eagles, had it and then couldn't control it as he got to the sideline. Incomplete.
Nate Allen's going to catch it. It's just a matter of when does he get control over it. If he had control and that knee was down, that would be an interception. So he didn't get 2 feet down, but if the knee's down and he controlled it, it should be.
And the Raiders are going to challenge. So it was on the other sideline across from Jack Del Rio. He was 53 1/3 yards away from the other sideline, but he's going to challenge it anyway.
Oakland is challenging the ruling on the field of an incomplete pass. Timeout.
Gene Steratore announcing he'll go under the hood. We'll take a look when we come back. Get the decision in a second. Looks like they're going to call this an interception, so Del Rio will win the challenge in our estimation. As you take a look again, as he gets the right knee down, as he controls it, he doesn't have it there, doesn't have it there, has it there, and the right knee is down. So if they're seeing what we're seeing, it might be, it should be, it could be, it's possibly a pick.
But it's also preseason, so
right.
Who knows?
Who knows, right? Who knows?
Nate Allen, 4 interceptions for the Philadelphia Eagles last year. He's lobbying his case out on the field right now.
After review, the ruling is an interception. The play is reversed to an interception. First down, Oakland. The ball will be placed on the 35-yard line on the hash mark nearest Arizona's bench. Oakland will not be charged with its first timeout.
I agree with the call. I think it was pretty clear. The ball didn't move from that point. The knee was down. Don't be fooled by the shadow there. It was easy to get fooled by the shadow a little bit, but no question about it. Carson Palmer was under pressure, as he has been throughout the preseason. They gave up 6 sacks in the first half of the preseason game last week. Not all of them on Carson Palmer, but the pressure again there bothered him into that interception.
So a short field now for the Oakland Raiders, starting at the 34-yard line. Quarterback is Derek Carr. Played all 16 games as a rookie last year. Starts with a flip to the left side, and this is Michael Crabtree. Been in the league a long time with San Francisco. Now comes across the bay this season. So Derek Carr, first Raiders quarterback since Rich Gannon to start every game of a season. Gannon did that in 2002 and took the team to the Super Bowl, where they lost to Tampa Bay. His brother David, back in 2002, was the first ever draft choice of the then Houston Texans in their inaugural season. Latavius Murray is the running back on 2nd down and 4. Here comes the blitz, and Murray is able to escape the first man through. That was Matthew coming in, got a hand on him, and can go nowhere. It'll be 3rd down. Take a look at the Oakland offense. Latavius Murray now becomes their #1 running back. He was the #3 back at the start of last season. Reese has gone to the Pro Bowl as a fullback. We talked about Amari Cooper at the top. Keep an eye on him. Lee Smith is the tight end. The guys up front, the big acquisition there is Rodney Hudson, who comes over from Kansas City to help solidify that offensive front. 3rd down and 7.
Real 22.
From the 31-yard line. 3 receivers set to the right. Carr looking to the left. Throws much too high. Intended for Cooper. And it'll be 4th down. He's covered there by Gerard Powers.
One of the really interesting things about watching the Arizona Cardinals play defense is that they have 5 safeties basically on the field. I don't know if I'm going to be able to circle them all out here, but they play Dayon Buchanan as a linebacker. I mean, they have had trouble trying to find linebackers to either stay around or stay healthy. So they have a safety now who's playing inside linebacker.
49-yard field goal by Janikowski in 16 years in the league. Still has a giant leg. Bang that one through by at least 10. Oakland cashes in on the turnover. 3-0. Sunday Night Football being brought to you by Chevrolet. Find new roads. By Corona, inviting you to find your beach. By AT&T. DirecTV and AT&T are now one, bringing television and wireless together. And by FanDuel, the leader in one-week fantasy football. Well, there's part of that Raider tradition we were talking about at the top. John Madden, and there is our old pal, the coach. We had dinner with him on Thursday night. All things going well for Coach Madden.
Looks good, doesn't he?
He looked good, sounded good, still very much involved in football. A lot of coaches around the league call him regularly for advice. This is Kerwin Williams taking a knee in the end zone. Now, the Cardinal quarterbacks last year, Carson Palmer, talked about the 2 injuries, and of course the one that did him in midseason, the knee injury. But you had Palmer, who was playing extremely well. Then Drew Stanton came in and did a very good job, and they kept winning. They were 9-1 at one point, but then they had to go to Ryan Lindley, and the weight of all of those injuries helped collapse the Cardinals' hopes toward the end of the season.
Aren't many teams can go their 3rd quarterback and have a chance, and it's exactly what happened to the Cardinals last year.
And they went to the wild card game. They still had the lead on the road at Carolina at the half, but couldn't hold on. They start this time with Andre Ellington, stopped at the line of scrimmage, I believe, 2nd down and 10.
Yeah, Malcolm Smith comes up there and makes that tackle. You'll remember that name, the former Super Bowl MVP. Had that interception of Peyton Manning a couple years back, and maybe not the most famous, most valuable player ever, but he has come here from Seattle and coming down here and playing for his old defensive coordinator now, and Ken Norton Jr.
2nd down and 10 from the 20. And Palmer dumps it off out of the pocket, juggling catch, Ellington, and he steps out of bounds. In fact, Malcolm Smith, I mean, he wins the Super Bowl MVP award. He wasn't even a starter at the beginning of last season for Seattle.
Yep. One of their old mates there, Dan Williams, going to put a little pressure on Carson Palmer here. They're trying to figure out the answer to the center position. A.Q. Shipley, Lyle Sinline, last year's center, still very much in a competition up front.
3rd and 5. And Palmer will air it out into double coverage and incomplete. John Brown looks around, thinks he was held. He was not. And in comes the punting unit.
It's a really good job. There's so much attention paid to these cornerbacks on the outside, but TJ Carey there did a great job forcing John Brown inside, and really the safety ends up all over it. So as a receiver, you got to work your way back to the outside here because the safety's coming over the top, and he just couldn't because Carey put so much pressure on him. Dave Palmer nowhere to throw the ball.
Dave Zastudil, he's in a battle to win the punting job with Drew Butler. Zastudil is the incumbent. And it's a 4-yard run back there by TJ Carey with 10-12 to go in the opening quarter. That kicked 51 yards. Oakland 3 and Arizona nothing. Coming to NBC, a mind erased and a body of clues that lead to fall's most thrilling mystery. The show is called Blind Spot, premiering Monday, September 21st, right here on NBC. Back to Oakland, California. We come on this 79-degree late afternoon from the 30-yard line. The Raiders start this drive. Carl will hand it straight up the middle. Goes Latavius Murray, third year out of the University of Central Florida. The Cardinal defense, and they play a lot of 3 safeties, so 3-3-5 basically. Campbell, of course, is terrific. Gunter is a rookie. Starting at nose, the 3 linebackers include the longtime Steeler Woodley, and Kevin Minter has taken over in the middle. Okafor had 8 sacks last year. And then you've got those 5 defensive backs, including Patrick Peterson, who's been to the Pro Bowl in all 4 of his seasons. Tyrann Mathieu is terrific as well. Second down and 8 from the 32-yard line. Carr under pressure throws, and that one is knocked away. Intended for Crabtree, broken up by Powers, 3rd and 8. New defensive coordinator is the very young, 37 years old, James Betcher, who takes over. He was a linebacker coach, and then Todd Bowles did such a great job with that Arizona defense over the last 2 years. It led to Todd winding up as the head coach of the New York Jets.
Such a strange line last year. They were ranked 24th because the league uses yards for that statistic, but in scoring 5th best, just 18.7 points per game.
That's the classic bend and not break defense as Carr fires over the middle. That's caught, but a little short of the first flag is down. Rod Streeter trying to win that number 3 wide receiver spot. Gene Steratore will make the call. Matthew covering on the play.
Derek Carr went down. Looked like a bit of a fall at the knees kind of shot.
Offense number 71. Penalty is declined. 4th down.
That's Watson, the right tackle.
Menelik Watson holding Okafor, which is why he went to the ground. He got pulled to the ground, so it's a good call by Gene Steratore, and Tyrann Mathieu all over the coverage, as he always is. It's a whole new look for this Raiders offense, though, at the receiver position. We'll get into that in a bit, too.
Here's Marquette King. Led the league in punts last year, not average, but punts, because Oakland was so anemic offensively. And that bounds out of bounds at about the 18-yard line. Cardinals have the ball back, trailing 3-0 early in Oakland.
Carson Palmer overcoming knee injuries twice in his career. Back in January of '06, it was a playoff game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who went on to win the Super Bowl. Kimo von Ovelhoffen got his knee on a long completion by Carson Palmer. And then the next 9 years later, there you are again. But in talking to Carson, the fact that that one happened without any contact, he didn't have all the ghosts of people falling at his knees and the concerns of that. He said, it took me half a season the first time because I just kept seeing people falling at my knees. But this time, because the way it happened, it just didn't happen that way.
13th season in the league, including 2 here a few years ago. Start with a 2-yard run on the ground. A lot of this game will be played on dirt because the Oakland A's, of course, play here. The stadium opened back in 1966. It has hosted 6 World Series. The A's will not be going to postseason play, so at least they'll be able to fill it in with grass at the end of baseball's regular season, as opposed to years past when you might have dirt here for 3 or 4 weeks after the baseball season because the A's were so proficient.
I used to like playing on the dirt because the defensive backs were always nervous. You could run them onto the dirt while you stayed in the grass and make a cut. It was kind of fun to play that way.
Only stadium in the league that hosts both Major League Baseball and the NFL. Nice pull. Going through the middle is Andre Ellington, and he's very close to a first down. They'll spot the ball just a little bit short, so it'll be 3rd down and half a yard.
Well, the Cardinals have spent a lot of money on this offensive line, and you can see there's a good push right there. Nice little wall built in. Good cutback by Ellington. They really feel like that Ellington is the kind of a guy that's exactly the running back and the style they like. And so they even went out and got Chris Johnson as well, who is very much that scat back kind of a runner too.
And they drafted Big David Johnson, who is in the game here, but that's Robert Hughes, a fullback, 3rd-year player out of Notre Dame. They give it to Hughes, and he picks up the 1st down halfway through the quarter.
It's really a good sign if you're looking for some good indicators for the Cardinals. Now a couple of 3rd and shorts, and they picked up both of them, being able to run the football. Robert Hughes was a running back at Notre Dame, not a fullback, and there's Chris Johnson there, and we can all remember that 2,000-yard season that he had. So if he's anywhere close to form coming back from a bit of a hamstring problem, I'm sure we'll probably see him next week.
Signed a couple of weeks ago. They had one more preseason game before they open against the Saints in Arizona, and that is caught by Larry Fitzgerald. And Fitzgerald gets taken down. There are 5 Raiders in the picture at the end of the play. Beats T.J. Carey and Larry Fitzgerald. He's been doing that for so many years. All the way he turns his hands almost backwards to make the catch.
Watch the route, Al. Check this out. He's going to be so patient. Up, out to the outside shoulder. A little shove. He got away a little bit there. But just the fact that he's willing to wait, that late move to the outside shoulder. That ball was thrown by Carson Palmer well before that break happened. And those two guys, if they can get in sync, and Larry's playing a different position now, a little bit of that move position at wide receiver, some of those option routes inside, I think it's going to fit him.
From the 41-yard line, they move him to the wing on the left side. And Palmer throws underneath to Andre Ellington. Larry Fitzgerald last year with Palmer, look at that. I mean, 80% completion percentage, 12.1 yards per pass. And then with all other quarterbacks down to 49% and 4.8. So when he's with Carson Palmer, it's a whole different deal, obviously.
I tell you, the other thing he's doing is playing that Hines Ward role. I've been watching him block this preseason. He's getting after people. They'll put him in motion. And when they want to run off the edge, he's a key blocker.
2nd and 4. Ellington again. Some question, of course, after last season as to whether Larry Fitzgerald would sign with Arizona, whether he'd leave or whatever. He has spent his entire career there, and there is a guy who someday should be on the steps in Canton.
Watch this block. Comes right down. He's got to pick off Nate Allen, the safety, for this one to work. Gets him inside. It's a good block. That's a tough block, too, trying to get inside leverage on a guy that's 5 to 6 yards inside. Again, another 3rd and 1.
And there's David Johnson back in the game again. He's their 3rd-round pick out of Northern Iowa, the big back. And let's see if they hand it to him to see if he can pick up that 1 yard. And they do, but he gets stuffed, and not only that, he fumbles, but Arizona's able to recover. So not the best of beginnings for the rookie tonight. Malcolm Smith comes in to make the tackle. Arizona will retain possession, but it will be 4th and 5.
Oh, you're going to get people shooting the gap, and then you've got Khalil Mack on the outside is going to strip this thing out. If I needed a yard, I would run anywhere on planet Earth other than at Khalil Mack. That guy is the biggest hammer that I've seen for a while now, playing that defensive end outside linebacker kind of position. He was brilliant last year.
So this will be a 54-yard field goal with the ball placed in the dirt near second base. Chandler Catanzaro had a real good rookie season from 54. Very light breeze, should have very little effect. And Catanzaro's kick will be very short. .356 to go in the opening quarter. Oakland takes over on downs. Home team leading 3-0. Well, saluting the champs has become a tradition. The team that wins the Super Bowl gets to open up the next season on a Thursday night, and we will be there as the New England Patriots will host the Pittsburgh Steelers football night, kicking things off from Foxborough. Monday kickoff show. Billy Goulding and Train performing from downtown San Francisco. At least that's where the Super Bowl will be held in February, actually in Santa Clara, but San Francisco will host most of the parties and whatnot. And that will take place a week from Thursday night right here on NBC. Carr going deep, and that is incomplete. Good coverage. Kimbrell Tompkins, the intended receiver. So Deflategate goes on and on and on. 7 months. I mean, it's like ridiculous already. Tomorrow, though, Judge Richard Berman will have a hearing. Tom Brady, we understand, and Roger Goodell will both be there. So maybe something happens tomorrow. Who knows?
Wouldn't it be nice if you could just sort of wave your magic wand? Don't you remember at the Super Bowl, we were doing this then? And now here we are at the start of this season, and we are doing the exact same thing all over again. It's such an exciting time of year, the start of the NFL season, and we just can't seem to get away from it.
Kicking the can down the road for 7 months. 2nd and 10. Latavius Murray, and he gets bottled up, and we check in with Michelle.
Well, right tackle Menelik Watson went to the locker room. He is out of the game with a left ankle injury, and Austin Howard is replacing him. After Oakland's last offensive possession, he came to the sideline. He was laying on a training table. The trainers told him something after looking at that left ankle, and he screamed into the training table. He was sobbing as he left out, being consoled.
Thank you, Michelle. And well, the Raiders will open up in 2 weeks. They have one more preseason game. And they open up here with Cincinnati, and that pass is incomplete, intended for the tight end Lee Smith. It'll be 4th down. Let's go back and see what happened to Watson.
Right here is Menelik out of England. See if we can figure out exactly what happened here. Now that's just the play with the hold, and you can see him grabbing it right away. Or just when they were feeling like that offensive line was getting settled, but at least they've got a little experience on the outside. Austin Howard, a guy that started all 16 at left guard, so they do have a little depth up front.
Working at King to kick. J.J. Nelson, who's close to being a world-class sprinter, won't have any opportunity here. The flag is down back at the line of scrimmage. Look forward to seeing Nelson at some point offensively, and what he can do. He's about as fast as they come. Gene Steratore to make the call.
He was as fast as they did come at the combine. Fastest time there, what was it, 4.28, something like that. He ran by a starting corner in the last preseason game. I just remember watching the tape going, what was that?
Illegal formation. Kicking team number 58 was not on the line of scrimmage. That 5-yard penalty will be added to the end of the run on the punt. 1st down, Arizona.
So 3:03 remaining, and Khalil Mack last year had a really good rookie season. Forget about the stats. He only had 4 sacks. He wants to have more, but he played extremely well for them and started every game.
Yeah, the remarkable thing about him is he didn't even start playing football until his senior year of high school. That's why he ended up at Buffalo. Don't want to insult Buffalo, but only had 1 scholarship offer, and then he had 140 tackles there, and then became one of the top draft picks in the NFL. But as good a run player as there is, and now what you're seeing from Jack Del Rio this year is they are going to very much involve him and try and get him the sacks. He was close last year, I think ended up with 4, but they're going to try and get him those sacks this year. Don't forget Jack Del Rio, a lot of experience with Von Miller, that same sort of position, and there's Ken Norton Jr.
Norton in his first year as a defensive coordinator, having under Pete Carroll at Oakland. And that pass is incomplete, intended for Fitzgerald. Carry coverage. Meanwhile, one other thing about Khalil Mack, he's a Florida kid. Chris mentioned he went to Buffalo. You know, they in the press guides, they ask the players, what's your favorite song, your favorite actor, blah, 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 your favorite book, your favorite movie. His favorite movie? Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins. Matter of fact, his cousin's nickname for him was Mary Poppins. Toughest guy in football. I love it.
2nd and 10. From the 14-yard line. And that's tipped, batted, and incomplete. 3rd down and 10 for Arizona. Nico Autry, 96, got a hand on it.
This is worth the price of admission for me out here. You've got Jared Valdir, one of the absolute best tackles, working against Khalil Mack, and Mack got close on that one. At least sort of presence felt that time by Carson Palmer. I'll tell you, in the first preseason game, I believe it was, They had 2 sacks. Neither one of them credited to Khalil Mack, but he caused both of them.
3rd and 10 at the 14-yard line. And Palmer chased and felt the pressure from behind and has to throw it away out of bounds. So good defensive work again. It's 4th down.
Now it happened again. Watch the spin move on the outside by Max. Going to come inside. It forces the guard to come off. Carson Palmer sees him and gets the heck out of Dodge and forces that incompletion. That's one of those, again, doesn't show up on the stat line, but he made the play.
Mayowa chased him down from the backside. Carey is back. Zastudil's punt. Fielded at the 50. And taken back to the Arizona 45-yard line. Well, we talked about David Carr, who was the #1 pick of the Houston Texans in their inaugural season. #1 pick overall. And then Derek was drafted near the top of the 2nd round. David was 4-12 at Houston rookie year. Derek 3-13. Take a look at those numbers. 21 TDs and only 12 picks. Played it safe, played it conservative last year. And his brother was sacked more than 3 times as much as Derek was last season.
Yeah, you talk to Jack Del Rio and he says he has an appreciation for protection. I bet he does. Drilled into him by his brother.
What's up?
Oh, from the 44 going nowhere is Murray. That was Alex Okafor, led the team in sacks last season with a 3rd-year guy. Played his college ball at Texas, making the stop. So you look at Carr here. His family from the Bakersfield area. In fact, both brothers are down there with his father coaching high school football.
Yeah, got off to a rough start, had a chance, scored late, didn't get the 2-point conversion, but football runs deep in that family.
All on the same staff. One of the brothers is the head coach. That's Latavius Murray, stopped back of the line of scrimmage. So David gets drafted in 02, and look at the little kid there. He's 11 years old at the time. There he is.
And what did he tell Paul Tagliabue?
I'll be back.
He said, I'll be back, and he was. It was amazing. David really has coached him from the time that he was starting in the NFL about protections, reads, all the different things. So he had quite the plan by the time he got here.
3rd and 16. Looking over the middle and guns it, and that's going to be enough for a 1st down as he's able to thread it over the middle. Caught there by Michael Rivera, one of the 2 tight ends. He's the pass-catching tight end. And on a 3rd and 16, they get 18 and move the chains.
Here's what you didn't see last year so much out of the Raiders. A lot of short, quick passes, getting the ball out. Now with these receivers, they think they can drive it down the field a little more.
And they go no huddle here, and Latavius Murray picks up a 1st down. He gains 12. That's it to the 20.
Excuse me, Al. One of the things I love when you see now the next generation and where he's getting to here for Derek Carr, as soon as he got that big completion, sprints to the line of scrimmage while they still had the nickel on the field, gets a run play off for another 1st down.
19-yard line, 1st down. Throw it out here to Cooper. And the rookie picked 4th overall, played his college ball for Nick Saban in Alabama, stopped by Powers. Half a minute to go, and the crowd already chanting "Coop, Coop."
How about that move? He got tackled on that one, but he was close to breaking free.
No huddle again on 2nd down and 6. And Carr gets hit from behind. That's tipped, and that is incomplete. Pressure again by Okafor. It'll be 3rd and 6 for Oakland, and Raider is down. That is Streeter. And he's been shaken, and he's a guy trying to win that 3rd receiver role, and not looking good at the moment as he is down on the turf here.
Okafor, who they think is going to be their best pass rusher coming off the edge, got close, forced a quick throw, and then Streeter coming across against the zone, which is always the most dangerous of all. Took a big shot there, and of course they were so excited to have him back after the foot injury a season ago.
And writhing in pain is Streeter.
Most receivers will not keep running against the zone defense because you don't want to be led into the next collision. That's a tough guy right there, though.
Well, whatever it was, he gets up, walks off under his own power, trying to fend off the other guys in contention for that role, including Andre Holmes, who's hurt, Bryce Butler, Tompkins, Seth Roberts, another guy.
You know, none of the top 3 receivers were even on this team were playing last year because Crabtree wasn't here, Cooper wasn't here, and Streeter was hurt.
3rd down and 6. Almost got Arizona to jump. And the blitz comes. Pass to the outside. Incomplete, intended for Kimbrell Tompkins. So it bogs down the drive at the 15-yard line, and in comes Janikowski to try to make it a 6-0 game.
I don't know if he had to throw that one hot or not, but that's not what you're looking for there. You've got 3rd down and 6. You paid a lot of money for Amari Cooper to play outside on the slant. Just sometimes the NFL is about forcing it a little bit. You know, big plays win games in the National Football League. You can't always settle for these field goals.
33-yard attempt by Seabass, and that makes it 6-0. Raiders with 5 seconds to play in the opening stanza. Who's played for the most head coaches with one team? Sammy Baugh with the Redskins his whole career, played for Jason Hanson in Detroit. He had 8 coaches. Shane Leckler was here as the punter, and Sebastian Janikowski has played already for 9. He's the record holder. And he's going to add, we don't have it as a 10th yet because the regular season hasn't started, but on opening day, Del Rio will be his 10th head coach of his career.
It's ridiculous. Sort of like you and broadcast partner.
Oh, yeah. No, well, not.
I'm just on the list. Just put me down the list.
List of them right. You never did motorcycles on ice, though. You know?
I would have liked to have done that. I used to watch that. You know what I liked back in the day, Wild World of Sports? I used to like when they barrel jumped. Remember barrel jumping?
Did you do that? Remember, I did it. Yeah,
huh?
I did.
What was the most barrels you ever saw jump?
I think something like 18, if I'm not mistaken.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, Northbrook, Illinois, World Barrel Jumping Championships.
One of the best.
Stay tuned.
Soon to be an Olympic event.
Everything's an Olympic event now. Janikowski to kick off. Kerwin Williams, who saw a lot of action at running back at the end of last season for Arizona when everybody got hurt. And Janikowski just keeps booming. 16 seasons in the league. So back comes the #1 offense. Palmer will play maybe a half because this is the 3rd preseason game, dress rehearsal game. Very few first-liners play in their final game next week. Getting ready for the opener at home against the Saints. That's Fitzgerald. A wing to the right. Stays in the block or help block. And Ellington takes it to the 22, and that will take us into the 2nd quarter. End of the 1st. The score is the Oakland Raiders 6 and the Arizona Cardinals 0. And Sunday Night Football from Oakland continues after these messages. Well, tonight's aerial coverage being brought to you by Geico, and you're looking at the Napa Valley wine country, about a 1-hour jaunt from the East Bay on this beautiful Sunday early evening. Start the 2nd quarter in Oakland. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle Tafoya. 6-0 Oakland as on 2nd down and 9. Palmer fires it to the outside, and that time it's David Johnson who cannot make the catch.
I told you about Carson Palmer and those knee injuries and how he isn't flinching now because of the way the injury happened. He didn't take contact, and look at him really standing in there and making these throws. This completion to Larry Fitzgerald in all sorts of traffic. The year after his first injury, you didn't see him do that. He clearly now is much more confident in his ability to step in and take a hit on that knee.
Carson Palmer won the Heisman Trophy in '02 at USC, playing for Pete Carroll. 3rd and 9. And Palmer is going to run and then dives for the first down. Had to get to the 30, takes it to the 31.
Somebody give Bruce Arians some oxygen now. I'm sure he about had a heart attack. 3rd preseason game, and his franchise quarterback with that knee brace is taking off and running and diving, not sliding. I wonder if some guys that have that knee injury, they probably don't want to slide, right? I would be almost more afraid of sliding.
Good point.
Yeah, might get hooked if you had that brace hit that baseball dirt.
And on first down to the outside, looking for room but not finding any. That Oakland defense has been swarming. Is Andre Ellington, tackled there by Max. Ellington was their leading rusher last year. The Cardinals have had 5 different leading rushers in each of the last 5 seasons. If things work out perfectly for this team this year, you've got Ellington. We'll see about Chris Johnson, but the other guy is that David Johnson, the 224-pound back, so they could have a little bit of thunder and lightning.
Yeah, and what makes Ellington so dynamic is that he lines up in the backfield, but now you shift him out to play receiver, and he's like a wide receiver. He has that kind of talent on the outside.
3rd-year guy from Clemson. Palmer's going to air it out, going deep, and making the catch is John Brown. Thorpe is there with the coverage, good tight coverage, but Brown, coming off a great rookie season, fights him off, makes the grab.
We told you about the speed of J.J. Nelson, but believe me, John Brown just as fast, and he's not a big guy, just went up over the top, looked like Michael Floyd or Larry Fitzgerald making that catch. Beautifully done. Bruce Arians is a guy that is going to take his shots, and he has 2 guys that can really fly on the outside. And that's not even to talk about Michael Floyd, who had the 2nd highest yards per catch average in the league last year.
Right, he had a hand injury, surgery, but they hope to have him back in a couple of weeks. Now Palmer buys time, going for the end zone, and it's incomplete, but a flag is thrown. DJ Hayden got his arms around John Brown. Brown last year had 4 game-winning touchdown grabs, so he makes the 29-yard reception, draws the penalty here.
Interesting to see if they consider this to be catchable. The ball was pretty high.
That's what they're talking about right now. There's a conference in the end zone. The 3 officials closest to it, now 4. Steratore waiting.
There is no flag for pass interference on the play. The receiver did not play through the back. It's an incomplete pass. 2nd down, Arizona.
Yeah, it looked like Hayden was going for the ball, and Hayden probably is thinking, I deserve one, man. He's been getting picked on here lately, and Bruce Arians, this is one of my favorite parts of the show here. Bruce Arians, he takes great pride in this one. He's going to let him know exactly what he thinks. He enjoys that part of it, kind of like his press conferences.
The modern-day version of baseball's Earl Weaver.
Well, he could kick a little dirt out there.
He can. That's right. 2nd and 10. Good protection. But the pass is errant, intended for J.J. Nelson. Good coverage there by Nico Thorpe. On the outside, it'll be 3rd down and 10.
Well, that's the 2nd time Carson Palmer's been crossed up. Yeah, Larry Fitzgerald here is going to go over and talk to J.J. Nelson, the rookie, and tell him you've got to commit. Once you commit to the outside, you've got to stay there. When he jumped back inside, Carson Palmer had already thrown it. So here he is going to the outside. He jumps back inside, and Palmer has no idea where he's going. Fitzgerald doing a little coaching out there.
Palmer now 5 of 13. 81 yards and 1 interception. From the pocket. Pocket collapses. Down he goes. So after it looked for a moment as if they'd have a 1st and goal at the 1 after the penalty call, it was waved off. Mario Edwards Jr. gets in there along with Khalil Mack for the sack.
This Mario Edwards Jr. starting to make a little bit of a name for him. Not anywhere to go. Carson Palmer hanging in there, but the pocket collapses, and if they can get some pressure like that out of some of those interior guys. We already saw it from Dan Williams, now Mario Edwards Jr., the second-round pick. And that was a huge sack because it pushed him outside that field goal range, you would think, back on the dirt again to try another long.
Yeah, 53 yards. His first effort was way short. Could be like a horse that likes the turf and not dirt. No. There's a winner right there. All right. So the first race was a clunker. You had a few of those.
Oh, yeah. I'm cheering for a turf horse this time, no, brother.
6-3 Oakland. Sunday Night Football being brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. By A Walk in the Woods, a new adventure comedy opening this Wednesday. By Geico, 15 minutes can save you 15% on car insurance. And by Chili's. Members of Raider Nation, sporting the silver and black horse, getting ready for today's game. Very passionate fan base here. Of course, the big elephant in the room, and we'll get to it obviously before the game is done. Los Angeles. And will the Raiders eventually move back to LA? More to come on that, obviously, as the kick goes through the end zone, and they'll start this next drive at the 20-yard line, Chris.
Amari Cooper, fourth overall draft pick out of Alabama. Boy, did I love watching this guy play in college. I think he's as polished a route runner as I've ever seen coming out of college into the National Football League. Set all the records at Alabama. It wasn't even close. And you can just tell he knows what he's doing. He's been playing receiver since age 6. I don't know of any receiver that could actually say that, but he understands the body language of the defenders and what they're trying to do to him. And he said, I just know what they're trying to do when they get up and press coverage or off. I understand what they're trying to do to me. A lot of change of direction, a lot of change of speeds in his route running. Really fun to watch.
Very shy kid. This is Taiwan Jones, and he gets hit at the 26. You know, we've met with almost all the players in the league through the years, and the wide receivers are a different, well, you were one. It's a different breed. But Coop the other day, I mean, you think Bill Belichick says next to nothing? Cooper set the world record.
Yeah, he didn't want to have a long conversation, but he was a nice young man. We enjoyed the conversation, but you kind of knew going into it he was that way at Alabama. He just likes to go out and play, and he is so competitive. I mean, you can like feel the competitive nature oozing out of his body in the conversation. He just doesn't have a lot to say about it.
A wide receiver like no other. And wide open is Marcel Reese, and the Pro Bowl fullback gets freed down the sideline for a big gain. Marcel Reese for 42 yards to the Arizona 32-yard line.
Marcel Reese, a former wide receiver in college, and has been in the Pro Bowl the last 3 years because he can do this. Remember under Bill Walsh, all their fullbacks could come out and catch the football? Well, Marcel Reese, not only is he a good blocker, he's a good runner, but one of the most dynamic receiving fullbacks we've ever seen.
Yeah, Walsh with Earl Cooper and Tom Rathman. Trent Richardson now in the game as the running back. They give it to him, and he's really fighting for a job. He's already with his third team. Very high draft choice, obviously, with Cleveland. Then they traded him to Indianapolis, and it didn't work out there, and now he's just trying to hang on here in Oakland.
And the Raiders are just dying to see something dynamic. You know, usually if you're the third overall pick, either you're the strongest guy in the room or the fastest or the biggest or quickest or something. And they just want to see that something. And they keep waiting to see it. And they're hoping it happens today on the dirt here.
2nd and 8. Carr throws, caught. And then crawling for a first down is Rivera. He was down before he got to the line to gain. They're going to spot it. Now, let's see where they put it. Yep, it's going to be a first down. A nice spot.
Yeah, Michael Rivera is that guy that is really almost more of a wide receiver type than he is a tight end type. They have Lee Smith in there that's going to be more of the blocker. And then Clive Walford, a guy I love coming out of the University of Miami, their 3rd round draft pick, but he's been injured. So it is Michael Rivera, though, that they'll move in and out off the line of scrimmage and flank him out as a receiver.
From the 23, and this is Trent Richardson just getting bottled up this time behind the line of scrimmage.
I tell you, though, the Oakland Raiders have one of the best, in my opinion, left sides of the offensive line that there is right now. Gabe Jackson at left guard's a powerful guy. Rodney Hudson, no question, was the best offensive lineman on the Kansas City Chiefs last year. And Donald Penn can pass block anybody, number 72 out there on the outside. Now, I understand when you're in Oakland, you talk about left sides of the offensive line. You've got to be careful when you're saying how good somebody is, but they're pretty good.
You're not talking about Shell and Upshaw, are you?
No, sir. I'm not even getting close to that one.
That's Richardson again going nowhere. Calais Campbell, one of the best defensive linemen in the league, 8th year out of Miami, makes a stop. And Mike Tice comes over to coach the offensive line. Mike, a few years ago, the head coach of Minnesota. Then he's been around, was in Chicago as the offensive line coach, and they bring him here, almost an entirely new staff. He's in charge of that group this season. 3rd down and 12 from the 24. Carr flushed out, goes on the run, intended for Tompkins, but he is out of bounds, so it'll be 4th down.
Kimbrell Tompkins over there, former New England Patriot. Get Derek Carr, and he can do a lot of things. He has a strong arm. They really feel like he throws a deep ball as well as anybody around. Now shows a little mobility, and not a bad throw there. Just put it somewhere where at least your guy has a chance. It's not going to get picked.
42-yard attempt for Janikowski. Flag is down. It was a 4th and 12. Brad Seeley is the special teams coach. He comes over from San Francisco across the bay.
Offside. Defense number 28. That penalty is declined. The result of the play, successful field goal. Timeout.
All it would have done is make it 4th down and 7. So Janikowski with 3 field goals. It's 9-3 Oakland. Start your engines. NBC going back in time this Labor Day full weekend of racing from Darlington, including a tribute to the 70s. Coverage begins Saturday at 3 Eastern time with the Xfinity Series. Sprint Cup racing next Sunday at 7. NASCAR on NBC. You ever been to Darlington, South Carolina?
I have not, but I can tell you, not even NASCAR drivers could drive fast in California.
Not there.
Not happening.
Darlington, the lady in black is what they have called that. Kerwin Williams from 5 yards deep up to the 21-yard line. Of course, it was his dad, of course, faced Muhammad Ali, and he made a pretty good name for himself as a player and now as a coach.
Yeah, he's done a great job. Was in Seattle for about 5 or 6 years, USC for about the same amount of time, getting his first chance to be the defensive coordinator. I asked him, I said, tell me one thing that you took from Pete Carroll in Seattle. He's like, one thing? What are you talking? I took the whole thing. Everything Pete Carroll did up there. I want to bring here the energy, the competition. He just loves ball. He wants staff continuity. Everything Pete is preaching up there, I brought here.
Norton and Del Rio were teammates for a couple of seasons back in Dallas, and there's no room to run. That's Ray Armstrong with the tackle on Ellington. We go to Michelle.
Well, Al, all the defensive players I spoke with talked about Ken Norton Jr.'s enthusiasm, his energy, how he makes it entertaining in the meeting room, all of those things. But perhaps the best demonstration of his approach is how he shows up at practice. He wears cleats and gets his fingers taped for practice.
He looks like the kind of guy that would do that.
And, sometimes you get those paper cuts holding that racing form or whatever it was.
2nd and 12. Take the end around and swing it back on a screen. Ellington, he gets taken down. It's a good tackle by Malcolm Smith.
I tell you, I have seen this Raiders defense now every week just get a little bit better and better. And one of the things they did was they went out and got Dan Williams. And talking to Ken Norton Jr., he really felt like that he had to be strong up the middle. Jack Del Rio did the same thing when he got out to Denver. They wanted to have that hammer to build around inside baseball, right? The same thing. You want to be strong up the middle. Well, Dan Williams has been the hammer inside to get them to these 3rd down and long situations.
6.5 left in the half on 3rd and 15, and they've got a flag for a delay of game, which is going to make it 3rd and 20, and they march that off.
Prior to the delay of game foul, Arizona was called a timeout. Their first charge timeout.
It'll be 3rd and 15 because they did stop the clock with a timeout. Speaking of assistant coaches, we got a lot of big names. There's Tom Moore, who's been around for a long time, offensive coordinator in Indianapolis for so many of the years when Peyton Manning was there. Great guy. Everybody who's been around football loves him. Said to him, hey, what do you tell Peyton Manning? He said, I just give him some concepts.
Yeah, that's it. But believe me, Tom Moore is a lot more than that. Terry Bradshaw loves that guy right there. He has influenced more great quarterbacks over the years than just about anybody. And Bruce Arians, you give him credit. He said, why would I not want that brain over here helping me? He tried to get Dick LeBeau as well when Dick LeBeau was let go in Pittsburgh, but he ends up in Tennessee. Bruce Arians has a big staff here, and they do some pretty creative things. They have enough coaches where they can have 2 completely separate practices going during training camp. They don't waste any time at all.
Before this night is done, Michelle will be telling us about Jen Welter, first woman to coach in the National Football League. She's been in camp with them, and the pass is caught, not caught. Ellington there on the 3rd down and 15. It's incomplete, so it's 4th down, another punt coming.
Well, if you were a bit concerned about the pass protection coming in, you're still a bit concerned. Now, I know there are some injuries, and Bobby Massey, the starting right tackle, is going to be suspended for the first 3 games, and Mike Iupati's not in there, big money guy from San Francisco. DJ Humphries hasn't worked out, but there's still problems.
Zaskadil's punt takes a fortuitous bounce, got about 10 extra yards on the roll, out of bounds at the 39, where Oakland takes over up by 6. Carrie Underwood back. Unbelievable 10 seasons of Sunday Night Football. Carrie's been with us for the last 3 of those, and just another phenomenal schedule. Patrick Peterson is one of the guys who will be in that opening montage that we will see 2 weeks from tonight, when we open up Sunday Night Football with the Giants at the Cowboys.
What's up?
Carr fires to the outside. Nice slip move there. Roy Halou Jr. comes over as the 3rd down back from Washington. Okafor makes the tackle, the 2nd down.
You know, Dayon Buchanan, number 20, is a safety. And yet, because Sean Witherspoon is hurt, Darrell Washington never made it back. That's a longer story than I want to get into. But Buchanan now is the inside linebacker. I mean, they are putting a 205-pound safety in there at inside linebacker, and he does a lot of this. He rushes the quarterback.
2nd and 6. That pass is incomplete. You see Amari Cooper, and you can see as he shaded his eyes, he was in a position where he's looking straight back into the sun.
There he goes. He rushed the quarterback more than any defensive back in the National Football League. And there's Amari Cooper. Yeah, welcome to California.
Yeah.
I've had a few of those. You just stick your hands up and hope it hits something.
And there's the Coliseum, about 2/3 encased in shade. Right next door is Oracle Arena, home of the NBA champion Golden State Warriors. Oh, Steph Curry is around tonight.
Boy, is he something.
3rd and 6.
What's up?
And that pass is thrown into the sunlight again, and this time Amari Cooper is there, the intended receiver. Powers with the coverage.
I'll tell you, Gerard Powers has had a nice game so far, and Cooper's getting away with a few pushes out there too. But Powers and Rashad Johnson are the 2 guys that they talk about in Arizona, sort of the brains of the operations back there, that they really can make so many in-game adjustments. With those 2 in the game, they're happy to have Powers back from injury.
All right, here's Marquette King. We'll get a chance to see J.J. Nelson's speed. He sets up at the 10-yard line. Good deep angle kick, and all he can do is call for a fair catch near the sideline at the 12-yard line. 5:24 left in the opening half. All field goals to this point. 9-3 Raiders. You can play from anywhere with the new and improved NFL.com fantasy mobile app. Fun, free, and easy. Sign up today at NFL.com/fantasy. We're in Oakland. Bayfront. There's Justin Tuck, longtime New York Giant, now of course with the Raiders, but injured. He'll, according to the Raiders, be certainly ready to play on opening day. Palmer gets jostled again, and that pass is incomplete. That's Stacey McGee coming in through the middle to bust it up, second down.
Hey, Khalil Mack is eating up Jared Valdir, who I'm telling you is one of the top tackles in the game. He is bull rushing. He is using spin moves. Very impressive performance so far by this defensive line of the Oakland Raiders.
David Johnson in at running back. Stays in the block. Palmer deep down the right sideline and incomplete. Excellent coverage. Hayden covering John Brown, third down.
Well, let's take a look at this defensive line. Nico Autry got it started. Some early pressure. Blows right through Andre Ellington. Then Dan Williams, who came over from Arizona, just taking care of A.Q. Shipley right up the middle. Stacey McGee going to get a little pressure here as well as they meet at the quarterback to finally end that. That's the way it's gone all night. Now, do we talk about the offensive line struggle, or do we talk about this Raiders defense is starting to look like some old day Raiders defenses?
Combo platter.
Yeah.
Third and 10.
There it is again.
Oh, man. They take him down. That's Khalil Mack this time. Another punt coming.
This is going to be a problem now because you've got your backup right tackle, Bradley Sowell, in there. That's who's going to be in there on opening day. And let's face it now, this is 2 straight weeks that the Arizona Cardinals have not gotten it done. You've got your quarterback coming off a knee surgery, and as good as this team looks, they don't have a chance if they're going to protect like this, and the Raiders look awesome right now.
That's Zaskedil's punt, fielded at the 47. A flag comes in at the end of the play. Run back of 2 yards there by T.J. Carey.
There is a penalty flag on the play.
Raiders feel a little different under Jack Del Rio, don't they?
At least at the moment. Yep.
During the return, illegal block in the back. Return team, number 25. 10-yard penalty. First down, Oakland.
That's Hayden. Here's Michelle.
Well, you were talking about the problems at right tackle. During Super Bowl week in Arizona, Bobby Massey was arrested for driving under the influence. And according to the police report, he pulled into the Cardinals practice facility around 3 a.m. Security called the police to report a suspicious vehicle. And according to the report, Massey told police he was there to pick up his Super Bowl tickets. The NFL has suspended him for the first 3 games of the season for violating the league's substance abuse policy. He is reportedly appealing that decision, Al.
All right, thank you, Michelle. And that's why right now that offensive line is in flux. And that's Marcel Reese able to haul it in after a very short gain on the flip.
Yeah, but you know, and if it were just Sal, I would say one thing. But we have seen now they are getting after Jared Valdir, who's as good as any left tackle that there is in the game. I just think that you're seeing under Ken Norton just a little better play than we've seen. And they don't even have Justin Tuck in there, who was their leading sacker from a year ago.
2nd and 9. There is Tuck and Civvies. And they hand it to Reese, and Reese will go nowhere. Well, last year, I mean, Oakland started the season 0-10. Dennis Allen was the coach. They fired him after 4 games. Tony Sperano took over. He coached for the rest of the season. They finally won a game late in the year against Kansas City. Wound up 3-3, but they had to clean house. And they were very active. And there is Mark Davis, the owner, very active in free agency. The most active they've been in years under the general manager, Reggie McKenzie.
And a lot of hits and a lot of guys that are going to be starting on opening day from free agency.
3rd and 11.
Down. We're waiting. What's up?
blitz. Good protection. Carr throws, caught. Cooper. And Cooper will take the ball and take Peterson with him all the way down to the 20-yard line. That's a rookie going against a 4-time Pro Bowler, gain of 37.
The one thing that they talk about with Amari Cooper is the change of directions. That yes, he's fast, but he's so quick in and out of the cuts. And there he's going against one of the absolute best, Pro Bowler Patrick Peterson, and just turned him around.
A flag is down in the yellow huddle. That's Cooper again along the sideline for the moment. He gets to the 7-yard line. And the flag is down other side of the field at just about the line of scrimmage. So it's possible they weren't set. We'll see. Steratore will give us the call momentarily.
I like what I'm seeing out of Bill Musgrave's offense too. They're quickening the pace a little bit. Looks a little more like what Derek Carr had in college.
There's the new offensive coordinator, Bill Musgrave. Several stops along his coaching route through the years,
including last year at Philadelphia. Where do you think some of this stuff's come from? I'm going to guess a little bit more might be coming as we go.
He coached for Jack Del Rio for a couple of years when Jack spent those 9 years in Jacksonville. Bill was there for a couple of those seasons. In fact, Musgrave was the quarterback's coach here in 1997, starting his coaching
Offside.
career.
Defense number 97. The penalty is declined. The result of the play. First down.
They take the 13-yard Cooper gain to make it a first down and goal.
Well, they've been really excited about what Derek Carr has done as far as taking that next step with the leadership and understanding the offense. And there's always that debate, Al, you know, do you sit that rookie quarterback or do you play him? It worked with Troy Aikman. He went 1-15 to all those Super Bowls, and Derek Carr thinks it's the right formula for him. He said, I learned so much even though I didn't work out so well last year.
Beat out Matt Schaub for the starting job. Takes it to the 6-yard line. Well, Bruce Arians did not want to play his guys an entire half, but he's leaving them in there right now because he's got to see something. Remember, the next game means absolutely nothing, preseason game. Then it's on to the opener against the Saints.
The Raiders last year, the best percentage of scoring touchdowns down in the red zone. Their problem was they just never got in the red zone. Fewest opportunities.
Second and goal. And we go to the 2-minute warning before the snap. So second and goal, 2 minutes to play in the opening half in Oakland, where the Raiders lead the Cards by 6. All right, thank you, Mike. Look forward to that. Always some good, juicy information coming out of Florio and the gang. Meanwhile, back here, last year, believe it or not, the Raiders had the best red zone offense in the league. That's the good news. The bad news is they were down there so infrequently, they barely got into the end zone because they had only 29 possessions down there. But on a percentage basis, they were good, and this time it's Murray going to the outside, and he's taken down behind the line of scrimmage by Okafor.
I tell you, it looked like Okafor really got pinned on this thing, and then watch him. I think it's him coming down inside. There's no way he's catching the speedy Latavius Murray on the outside, and he did. They really feel like that Okafor could be one of those guys that by midseason everybody's double teaming him. If anybody in this defense has made a huge jump, it's him.
Third and goal. You got Cooper to the left. He's going to be looking back into the sun again if he goes to the outside. And instead it goes to the right side, intended for Crabtree, covered by Peterson. Incomplete, fourth down. And Janikowski will try to go 4 for 4 as he comes back out into the field with the field goal unit.
You can't ask for anything easier than this. A fade route from the slot coming right up, so you have all that room to work with, and they just don't hit it. I know Crabtree was trying to keep his feet in bounds there, but sometimes you can lay out for that one and drag your toes and at least have a chance. So, as usual in preseason, hard to score inside that red zone.
For Janikowski, it's like a 2-foot putt. 28-yard field goal. He's good.
So he doesn't shake like I do.
Only we miss those. 4 for 4 for Sebastian Janikowski to make the score 12-3. Jack Del Rio coming in here, he was at Denver. You know, it's a funny thing. You look at the Raiders through the years, and we saw John Madden. And John's pedigree was on the defensive side of the ball when he first got the job here. Then the Raiders had 12 consecutive head coaches, all who came from the offensive side of the ball. Then they went defense with Dennis Allen, who came over from Denver. And then when Allen came here, Del Rio got the defensive coordinator job in Denver, and now another Denver defensive coordinator comes in.
Yeah, one of the things that I liked that he did when he came in, talking about Jack Del Rio, was the fact that he assigned to every rookie, they had to go around the walls of the Raiders facility, and obviously all those great historical figures and Super Bowl champs and all those sort of things, and they had to do a presentation in front of the whole team. So now when they walk the hallways and you see Fred Biletnikoff or whoever, they have some idea who those guys are. He is embracing the history of this place, and he loved it. When he was getting interviewed, they made him talk to John Madden. 3 hours later, they're still on the phone just talking ball. I think both of them really enjoyed it.
Janikowski, it's a bouncing ball that will go through the end zone. One of the things Del Rio wanted was a new workout facility. The Raiders invested about $10 million in a new weight room, a new facility at their camp in Alameda, which is about a 5-minute drive. But if they go to L.A., Scott Osler put it in the San Francisco Examiner today, it'll be a nice 24-hour fitness place.
Yeah, unless they put it on wheels. But I know we talked to Mark Davis some about this. He still claims he's very committed to staying here. He's willing to put up half the money. He's looking for this area to put up the other half. And well, who knows? I'm going to stay out of the politics of it. I'm sure it's ugly.
I'll just tell you long odds of that happening. On first down, that's intercepted at the 43-yard line. Nate Allen, that's his second. And the former Philadelphia Eagle will get run down by Brown from behind. Well, that Raider defense has had quite a half.
Well, and J.J. Nelson, not so much. He's going to come up here and make a break and stop. And Carson Palmer thinks he's going to keep on going, or I think what he really thought was he was going to stay vertical on a skinny post. When he broke it hard across there, and he's going, where are you going? And that's the problem when you're dealing with young wide receivers, and you got to throw it before the cut happens. And Nate Allen said, thank you very much. Wish this were the regular season.
So 2 picks for him. Palmer is 6 out of 18 for 78 yards and 2 interceptions. And on the ground, Arizona's averaging 2.5 yards per carry. Roy Halou is the running back. Flares out, pass goes the other way. Cooper breaks a tackle. Run out by Campbell. Close to a first down, a little shy of it.
How many times do you see Calais Campbell, a defensive tackle, get up and chase down somebody as fast as Amari Cooper? But this happened all the time at Alabama. I'm just telling you, I watched the tape of every single pass he caught when he came out, and they must have thrown 50 of those screens that he caught, and maybe on 10% of them somebody was able to tackle him outside.
2nd and 1 at the 20. That's a pass to the outside to Rod Streeter, who got shaken up before. You know, the Raiders have such a great history in terms of receivers. I mean, Tim Brown went into the Hall of Fame. I mean, you go back to Cliff Branch, Fred Biletnikoff, all the way back through time. But it's been years since they've had anybody, I think, like this kid.
I agree. And when you had a young quarterback like Derek Carr, you wanted to compliment him. You know, you wanted to give him somebody that could force some double coverage. And already you're starting to see the safeties sneak over that way just as a little help on Cooper. And if they don't.
Well, that's how Cooper stopped.
Carr's had some nice throws, but he's blown some tonight too. He might have had a perfect night. This is about the 3rd one I've seen that he's just sort of sailed over somebody's head. And when you look at the numbers on Derek Carr, the one place he's had trouble is throwing deep left, middle left. A lot of rookie quarterbacks very comfortable to the right side where they can see it well, not so comfortable back to the other side.
2nd and 10. This time to the right side, and this time it is juggled, and Crabtree can't hold on. Patrick Peterson, who's playing the left corner. He's not flopping. In other words, Cooper, if he's on the right side, Peterson's with him on the left side. Cooper goes against somebody else.
Yeah, good play there by Patrick Peterson. Good to see him healthy again. Type 2 diabetes a year ago, not the kind that you have to take insulin and all that sort of stuff, but he changes his diet, lost about 15 pounds, and really feels so much better than what he did last year. His teammates basically said, hey, you're just not yourself. You need to get checked out. And luckily, they found out what the problem was.
3rd and 10. Cardinals showing blitz, and that pass is incomplete. Had to get rid of it. Cooper's going to need sunglasses. They keep throwing to him on the sun side. Incomplete. It's 4th down.
Yeah. And Okafor is going to give Derek Carr a black eye, and he'll need sunglasses too if he keeps coming like this. Pressure coming around the outside. Just had to try and throw it before that cut was made, and that's one of the problems. You've got 2 young guys. They're both playing well, but the timing just isn't there until you end up playing together for a few years.
32-yard field goal. Janikowski trying to go 5 for 5. Bingo. So 5 field goals in the first half. And Oakland, they had the top red zone offense last year in terms of efficiency, but tonight they can't get into the end zone. 15-3 is the score. Well, the Heisman Trophy, well represented here tonight as you go back through time. Carson Palmer in 2002, and Charles Woodson won it in 1997. 18th year in the league, 143 starts for Palmer and 235 for Woodson in his spectacular career. Woodson with 60 interceptions. All of the Heisman Trophy winners combined, 37. He would be the first of the pure defensive players to win the Heisman. We say that because in the early years of the Heisman, a lot of college players played on both sides of the ball.
Well, he had a bunch of sacks as well, and it's amazing, isn't it? What is he, 38 years old? I think he's going to be 39 during the course of the season this year, and he's brains the out. You know, everybody's going to go up to him and say, man, you're too old to do this. Yeah. And playing safety, there's nowhere to hide. You got to tackle big guys out there, and somehow he's been able to keep his body together.
A yard in, Kerwin Williams. And Williams gets taken to the turf up at the 30-yard line. We go to Michelle.
Al, I told Charles Woodson that Malcolm Smith called him the ultimate football legend and a warrior, and that he still makes a play every day in practice. And Woodson said he liked that description because he has had to have a warrior's mentality to play as long as he has and as hard as he has. He also said he really cannot explain how or why he feels as good as he does physically. He's surprised that he gets out of bed every morning feeling fine when he knows so many other veterans don't.
In tremendous shape. Started his career here, played in the Super Bowl in 2002 with Oakland. They went to Green Bay, several great years there, and then back, and that is knocked down at the line of scrimmage. That's the Nico Autry. It's a second back down.
I'm going to tell you, if I were Bruce Arians, I would have my quarterback out of this game. They cannot block Khalil Mack. If he comes out for the next series, Carson Palmer, for me, would not go out there. This is getting to be a real issue and a really exciting moment, I think, for the Oakland Raiders, because as close as Khalil Mack got to those sacks last year, he's getting even closer right now.
25 ticks remaining in the half, and Palmer's going to throw underneath. It's caught by David Johnson. And the 3rd-round pick flagged down out of northern Iowa. Takes it up to the 45. Well, Arizona was going to take a timeout, but they don't have to at the moment because the clock stops with the flag. When Bruce Arians left Pittsburgh, and the word was initially he was retiring.
Use of hands of the face, defense number 25. That penalty is declined. The result of the play, 1st down.
That's Hayden. A little look at the penalty here.
Yeah, one of the things that looked like a headlock, like wrestling or something. One of the things that Arians knew that was going to happen to J.J. Nelson after he ran by some of the corners in the league last few weeks was that he was going to get press coverage. They were going to come up and get physical with him. Exactly what's happening here tonight.
4 wide here. Palmer under pressure again, underneath, and trying to get out of bounds to stop the clock, and he does with 9 seconds left as Johnson. But just to finish with Arians, in Pittsburgh, they didn't renew his contract, which is the same basically he's getting fired. They kept saying he's retiring. He actually did retire for about a month, and then he was called by Indianapolis, by Pagano, did a great job there in Chuck's absence. But how did he put it last night? He said, I was refired, is what it was.
There is nobody more entertaining in the game to talk with than that guy right there. And he makes no apologies. He has life outside of football. He'll squeeze in a few holes of golf every once in a while. He's playing with house money right now.
2nd and 1. I mean, you know what he is? He's really, somebody described him, he's an old soul, but a very modern, forward-thinking guy. I mean, he brings in the first woman coach in the history of the National Football League.
Yeah, she has done a good job, hasn't she? Jim Welter's psychology major, I think, has her doctorate in that. Writes notes to the players before the game and inspires them, and used to play football. It's one of the more amazing bits of footage I've ever seen.
We'll see it in the second half. Michelle will feature it for you. Khalil Mack comes in for the sack. So that's a great first half defensively for the Oakland Raiders. Offensively, they wind up with 5 field goals. Teams go to the locker rooms with the score 15-3. And coming up next, the Toyota halftime after these messages from your local NBC station. Ready to start the third quarter. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle Tafoya in Oakland. Carson Palmer, a forgettable first half. 2 picks, sacked 3 times, 8 of 22 for 103. Derek Carr, 8 drives, at least 5 of them paid off with field goals. 160 total yards. Nate Allen came over from Philadelphia in the offseason and had 2 interceptions. And Janikowski has accounted for all of the Raiders scoring with 5 field goals. But one of the big stories for Oakland has been Khalil Mack.
He was the man. He ate the Arizona Cardinals alive. We knew him for his run defense like that all year last year. That is no fluke. But now he's converting it into pass rush pressure. And he dominated this first half. If I were Bruce Arians, I would be so excited that Carson Palmer came out of that first half alive. Khalil Mack was unblockable. That was one sensational first half.
Well, his favorite movie, Mary Poppins. Spoonful of sugar in the first half for that guy.
He sure did. That was really fun to watch. And I know the Raiders weren't on national television a lot, but he did that all year long. He played like that, and I think he's going to be that much better this year.
Catanzaro will kick off for Arizona. Taiwan Jones will not have an opportunity to run it back, but we have an opportunity to go to Michelle Tafoya.
Well, Jack Del Rio just told me he wants to see his offense be able to score touchdowns, not just convert field goals on special teams. So he's leaving a bunch of his starters in, including his quarterback. But an update on right tackle Menelik Watson, he told me, Del Rio did, it does not look good. More tests to come, but it does not look good. Bruce Arians said his pass protection broke down simply because there were one-on-one losses all along the offensive line, and they couldn't run the ball. So he'd like to see a better job at that, but he's not leaving his starters in to do it, guys.
All right, thank you, Michelle. So we have seen enough of Palmer, and he doesn't figure to play in the next game as well at Denver. This is Halou. Came over from Washington, tries to fight his way for a first down, very close, and they will spot the ball at the 30, first down.
That if you're looking for more good news for the Raiders tonight, Roy Halou has been out with a hamstring injury, and he very well could be a major factor this year because of his receiving ability. Yes, he led Washington 1 year in rushing, but it is the receiving numbers that get you excited, because if he can start to convert some of those easy ones in the passing game, could be a big difference for this team.
And Halou again. Yeah, their main guy is going to be Latavius Murray, who came on at the end of last season. And Halou is the third down guy.
Matt Shaughnessy is going to come in here. He's an interesting guy. He was an outside linebacker last year. Now they're moving him inside. I've seen him play D-end. I've seen him play defensive tackle. He was one of the biggest outside linebackers, and now he's one of the quicker inside interior linemen. It's an interesting move, but I think it's working out pretty well for him.
Former Oakland Raider, 2nd and 10 from the 30. And the empty backfield. Caught, slant, Bryce Butler. And Butler with great speed gets taken down from behind at the 40-yard line by Cariel Brooks, a rookie from Adams State. Gain of 30.
Al, this looked anything like the Philadelphia Eagles to you? Remember, Bill Musgrave spent a year there. Send the back in motion. Now you've got one-on-one right up here. Look at all the space. You make a catch, a little run, and there you go. You isolate somebody on the field in a one-on-one situation, and the Raiders feel pretty good about those matchups with their receivers.
Through the backfield again and swing it out to Taiwan Jones. Trying to get him out in space, but he gets taken down after a gain of 4.
Yeah, just the opposite. So that time they didn't rotate away, and they left an extra cover guy on the backside, and so now you just go to where all the players are. So there's extra help here. You go there, and now you've got a mismatch with the blockers on that side.
And Carr will sling it to the near side, and that's not caught. Rod Streeter had it for the moment and couldn't hang on, and that will make it 3rd down and 6.
But the one thing, and not every time, occasionally he's reverted back to form, but I do think that Derek Carr has more confidence in the ability to throw it down the field, not only after a year of studying, but just the receivers that he has out there. You can tell that he has a little more faith that if he throws it up, that his guys will make a play for him.
Carr flushed out, slings it, caught, and then reaching is Kenbrell Tompkins to try to pick up that first down. Had to get to the 30-yard line. And he has it.
I'll tell you, that was a nice play by Kenbrell Tompkins. Watch him. I think he's going to be in bounds, extend that ball, and got the full extension.
Now at the 30, and a whistle before the snap. Going to be against Arizona. You know, too many guys on the field, I think.
They made a late substitution.
Defense, 12 men on the field. 5-yard penalty. First down.
It used to be one of those plays they kind of let the play run. Now when they realize it beforehand, they blow the whistle, and Jack Del Rio can act like he's not happy. He's happy. I'm telling you, this, you could kind of feel it being in the building a little bit the other day. I go, this just feels a little different. It's a little more structured and organized, and I don't know. I just had a little different feel to it.
First penalty against Arizona. 1st and 5. Halou spins to the outside but can't pick up the first down. A little short. Jimmy Legree with the tackle. It'll be 3rd and 1.
Well, we always check the clock on these quarterbacks with their release time. 0.4, a little slower than the top end guys. We'll put the tracer on there as well. Pretty tight little release. Brother had a little different kind of a release, a little bit more of a loop maybe, but pretty amazing when two guys out of the same family beat the odds and started quarterback in the National Football League. I think there's been at least one other group do that.
12 years apart. It's 2nd down and 1. And that is incomplete. Rivera, the tight end, swinging to the outside. Chris Clemens covering. It'll be 3rd down and 1.
Chris Clemens, just yet another safety back there making plays. Tyrann Mathieu, he's sort of the cover guy. Rashad Johnson, he's kind of the brains of the operation. Tony Jefferson started a bunch of games for him. Dalen Buchanan playing, and it's everywhere it seems like you look when you watch Arizona play defense, there's a safety lined up somewhere.
Down. Blue 80. What's up?
Now on 3rd and 1. Kalu over the left side. And that's a first down. So drive began back at the 20-yard line to start the half. Right now, Oakland trying to get into the end zone for the first time in the game. First down to the 18.
You know, and I think Jack Del Rio is just saying, I've got a young team. I'm not afraid to play them. Nobody's expecting us to go to the Super Bowl. But he was adamant about the fact that don't tell me about growing up this year. And I mean, they're talking about winning the division and making the playoffs, and they think they have a good looking team.
What's up?
Outside, Tywan Jones. Minimal gain. Tywan Jones. He's been around for a while. He's a 5th-year guy, Eastern Washington. Formerly played on the other side of the ball, but a guy who can kind of be like a jack of all trades, a joker, whatever you want to call him, but a guy can come in and do certain things.
Yeah, he played defensive back, and then they started on offense, moved to defense. Now they moved him back, and Bill Musgrave really thinks he can fill like the Percy Harvin role that he had when he was in Minnesota.
Down. Blue 80. What's up?
Through the middle. Kalu with a steady dose of carries on this drive to the 14-yard line. 3rd and 5 upcoming.
It's always interesting to me whenever you see an old school coach sort of learn new tricks. And Bill Musgrave, the offensive coordinator, all the power stuff he had with Adrian Peterson, and then he goes spends a year in Philadelphia, and now you're starting to see all this motion and empty. And you know, he's a guy that's been around, but I really like him. He's a no-nonsense, tell-it-like-it-is guy with this offense, and they're playing tough.
3rd and 5. Clark fires, and that's incomplete, and that means Mr. Janikowski, but a flag is down. So before the special teams unit comes out, we will get the call from Mr. Sterator.
Pass interference. Defense. Number 46. Spotted a foul. Automatic. First down.
Call that on Jimmy Legree. So Janikowski remains on the sideline, and Oakland has another shot at trying to get the ball into the end zone for the first touchdown of the game. It's 15-3. 9 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. Oakland's had the ball the entire 3rd quarter, and a 1st and goal at the 9.
What's up?
And we got a whistle as we have, for the moment, what the crowd appears to think is a touchdown. However, whistle before the snap. Tywan Jones, I think, is going to be the man who gets. We'll see.
Derek Carr looked like he's throwing a frisbee on that one. Barely got the snap and just kind of had to wing it out there.
Offense number 61. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
Well, that's the center. That's why it looks so funky. Rodney Hudson on the snap.
Every once in a while the center will forget the snap count too, and he probably
Yep. There you go.
kind of gave it the half double clutch. Derek had a good idea. Let me get rid of that thing. Coming off the edge was a guy in Arizona they are really impressed with. Number 44, Marcus Golden, 2nd-round draft pick. Kind of reminds you of James Harrison when he's out there playing. Bruce Arians knows all about that comparison. He said, yep. He said, it's the same thing I do. I compare him to him as well.
Man, down. Blue 80. What's up?
So 1st and goal. Looking for a backside screen that gets picked off at the 20-yard line. Cariel Brooks He gets by Carr. He has a convoy, and there is your first touchdown of the game. Trying to set up a backside screen on a 1st and goal. And Brooks with the pick. He is a rookie free agent from Adams State.
There he is, just going to fight right through the block of Streeter here. And as Bryce Butler, for some unknown reason, decided to go up the field on the screen, and Derek Carr kind of gave it a pump first out there. It just was one of those, you can't pump fake that. Now everybody in the house, and he threw it sidearm. That's a horrible play by Derek Carr. As many good things as this team has done, you can't do that. You know this team is young, but you can't make those kind of silly, stupid mistakes and expect to get it all turned around.
Well, the extra point now, of course, is the equivalent of a 33-yard field goal. So here's what's happened in preseason: 94%, which was about the same percentage of 33-yard field goals that were made last season. So Catanzaro to tack on the point after, and he does with 8:46 remaining in the 3rd quarter. First touchdown of the night belongs to Arizona, but Oakland still leads 15-10.
Well, the Raiders and Cardinals joined the NFL in celebrating USA Football Month and recognizing youth football participation at every level. Boy, is it fun tonight. Sonata High School, along with youth teams from Milpitas and North Stockton, took the field as part of the pregame festivities, and we were cheering them on up here. To learn more about USA Football, log on to playfootball.com.
And there they are, enjoying the game at the O.Co Coliseum, Oakland, California.
Even the Bengals were out there tonight. I saw some Bengals out there.
You did?
Yeah, one of the names of the team was the Bengals. Cheering for him.
Catanzaro. And a touchback. Oakland will get the ball at the 20-yard line. They've had the ball the entire half except for that run back for the touchdown. We talked about Jen Welter before. She's gotten a lot of publicity, a lot of play over the past month or so. First female coach in NFL history, brought in by Bruce Arians, and Bruce says, hey, I don't care. I'm hiring anybody who can help me. And she fit the bill.
Oh, and she played the game. The players don't look at her as like, oh, they got a girl in the locker room kind of thing. She played not only against women, but she went out there against the men as well. And some of the footage of this is breathtaking almost.
On her upcoming is Christian Ponder, who's now the quarterback. Michael Rivera, the tight end, and he'll gain 14 yards. Ponder, coming over from Minnesota, comes over with the offensive coordinator as well, Jen Welter.
So here's Jen playing against women in the Women's Professional League, shooting the gap there and making a play. She's not really very big, 5'2", but physical presence out there on the field. One play after another. It was always easy to find her when you were studying the tape, and she took it one step further than that.
Step to the 14-yard pickup. Now you've got Trent Richardson, and he finally shows something to the Raiders and stays on his feet because he went down without contact. So he gets back up and takes the ball all the way to the Arizona 42-yard line, again at 22.
There's a little patience, a little explosion through the hole, and boy, have they been waiting to see some of that. Just take his time, read option play, good spin move.
Now they're going to say that he was touched, and they're going to move it back to the 50-yard line. They take away about 8 yards that time. They have the contact right there that puts him down. That's where they stop it, so it's a gain of 15 for him.
It had to feel good for Trent Richardson to break out and have one of those runs. I mean, clearly he can do it. We saw him do it at Alabama for all those years, and sometimes you just need to get on a roll. And for running backs, you hear it a lot. They want to have a chance to get into the flow of the game, and maybe that's what he needed.
Well, frankly, he's fighting for a job. And down the sideline, and that's broken up. Intended for Bryce Butler. Broken up by Jimmy Legree. We go to Michelle.
Hey, going back to Jen Welter, she told me she felt accepted by the players in a number of ways. First of all, they didn't call her Jen. They called her Coach or Dr. J because she has a PhD in psychology. They also took her coaching and saw that what she was teaching them worked. A number of players looked at that footage that we just showed, and they went to her and said, hey, you can actually play. And Welter said that many of the players wanted her to meet their wives and moms who were all big fans, and she took that as the ultimate compliment.
Yeah, so she's been very popular as Trent Richardson picks up 4. The interesting thing, though, she's an intern, so she has another week with the Cardinals, and then we'll see what happens going into the regular season.
Well, she told me that she'd like to find a position in football that combines her playing experience and her coaching experience, but also her psychology background. She said she'd love to continue in the NFL. She really felt at home and loved that people saw that even these, quote, big old guys could relate to and learn from and have respect for a woman, from a woman as a coach.
I'm sure there's some cats who could be put on the couch for a while, including us.
Broadcasters, too.
That's right, 3rd and 6. That's a one-handed grab, but well shy of the first down is Richardson. Gabe Martin loses his helmet, takes him out of bounds.
You want to know how you get respect from players in the National Football League? Play against the men. She's running the ball against the men in this indoor arena league. Puts her head down. That's a tough lady right there. Doctorate in psychology.
Number 16.
May end up being head coach here before long. But, I think it's a great idea. I really do. I mean, there are so many things that happen inside a locker room, and ladies touch, why not?
Stephen Clark is the punter now, bounces at the 1 and bounces into the end zone. So Arizona will finally get the ball on offense with 6:09 to play in the 3rd, 15-10. Ordinary people with extraordinary abilities. The groundbreaking series is back. Heroes Reborn. 2-hour premiere. You'll see it Thursday, September 24th at 8 Eastern and Pacific, 7 Central and Mountain, right here on NBC. Coliseum built in 1966. The Raiders moved right in. The Oakland A's came here from Kansas City in 1968. Stadium that has hosted some fantastic football games and 6 World Series. Drew Stanton is the new quarterback, and he slings it to the outside. Britton Golden. Game of 3. But the question is, and we talked about the big elephant in the room, what about a move? What about LA? Clearly this is an old facility. They have a really good fan base. Raider Nation, the Black Hole, stay in Oakland. You saw those signs back in the early 80s, and away they went. They went to LA between 82 and 94, and then came back here from one Coliseum to the other, and back here now for 2 decades. But how much longer is the question? 2nd down and 7 from the 23-yard mark. And that is caught by Britton Golden, but does he hold on, or do they call it incomplete? And it's incomplete. They're calling him down by contact. Down by contact.
First down.
31-yard line. You know, Chris, as long as the Deflategate has been going on, the LA thing has been going on even longer. Look at the play again here.
Yeah, like the knee was down right about the time that ball came out. Yeah, this, you know more about it than anybody. You're living in LA. What do you think's going to happen?
Well, I talked to everybody, and I got to tell you something. This is a movable feast like none I've ever seen. Everybody's saying something is imminent, and they're going, no, they're going to kick the can down the road for a few more years. It's real simple. If you don't follow it, it's basically Stan Kroenke, who owns the St. Louis Rams, has a big parcel of land. It's the old Hollywood Park. There's Mark Davis, son of Al, who owns this team. So Stan, people think, will build a stadium in Inglewood, move the Rams there, and maybe another tenant will come in. Meanwhile, Davis and Dean Spanos of the San Diego Chargers have put together a plan to have a stadium built in the town of Carson, California, which is about a 20-25 minute drive south of Los Angeles International Airport. 2nd down and 9 from the 31. And Stanton throws it deep down the sideline. But there have been so many meetings, committee meetings. There'll be another one in September. Then there's a big owners meeting in October. And I'm hearing everything. I'm hearing the kick the can down the road, or I talked to somebody who's very involved in this and says something will definitely get done in October. What the Raiders and Chargers have done too is they brought in Carmen Policy, who was the president of the 49ers for many years and had been out of football, to kind of spearhead the effort to get the Charger and Raider facility built.
And I think there's a frustration here that the Rams in St. Louis, there is talk of building a new stadium, and so then the two California teams could go to LA, but there's obviously competition.
3rd and 9, he throws into traffic, and that's Britton Golden. A flag is down, however, back at the 37-yard line. It was
Illegal contact.
3rd and 10.
Defense number 57. Penalty is declined, the result of the play. First down.
So it's 1st and 10. Ray Armstrong is the guilty party.
Right down here is DJ Hayden. Oh, I'm sorry about that. The pressure there from DJ Humphries coming around the edge.
They changed DJs. So first down at the 45-yard line. And to the outside goes David Johnson. One thing about the players that we talked to some of them the other day, we said, is this a distraction? And they said, no, during the offseason, they hear a lot about it, read about it. And the guys basically said, hey, look, once we got into camp, we're playing football. Nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, you know, and I was talking to Mark Davis on the field a little bit beforehand, and he said, you know, my goal is to put up half the money. That got $200 million from the league. I have $200 million from personal seat licenses, put up $100 million in cash. That's $500 million. I want the city to put up the other half, and we're staying here. I want to stay here. You know, he just kept saying that over and over and over to me. I want to stay here. I don't want to put any pressure on anybody, but if that can't happen, then you've got to start, I guess, looking at options.
Britton Golden makes that catch. You know what's amazing to me? You know, the going rate for a great stadium these days? About $2 billion.
In LA, for sure. You're going to try and house two teams, and that's what they keep talking about, right? That they want to have two teams there.
Maybe. Like I say, it's a different story every week. 3rd and 5. Stanton. And he converts here. Moma makes the tackle. Drew Stanton is a guy who has been around for a long time, but he didn't play for a couple of years. And then when Palmer got hurt last year, he came in, he did a very good job, and they were doing fine with him as the starting quarterback, and then he got hurt.
Yeah, he started 8 games. They were 5-3. Looked like everything was going to be fine. I think Carson Palmer was 6-0 in his starts.
He was.
But then, unfortunately, they were both gone by the time the playoffs rolled around, and just wasn't enough offense to be found.
First down. David Johnson comes in at about 224 pounds. Short game.
Vincent Mayowa right here going to circle around the outside here to make a play. Working against out there on that edge, the #1 draft pick of the Arizona Cardinals and DJ Humphries, who has not made that big of an impression. I'm sure that when they knew that Bobby Massey was possibly going to be suspended, they have altered their thinking on their #1 draft pick, but so far has proven that Humphries just not ready to go.
2nd and 7 catch on the outside made by Golden. 3rd and short coming up as we tick down to the final minute of the 3rd quarter.
One of the things that they wanted to do was experiment with Earl Watford right there, moving out to right tackle, and you have to say, at least so far this half, he's done a better job than Bradley Soule has done. So who knows? The experimentation continues as the Raiders continue with their first-string defense into the second half.
3rd and a deuce. And that's caught. That's a first down, and that's David Johnson making the grab. First down, Arizona.
Well, at least Sal did on the last one. I think we're going to get a you're playing right tackle against Khalil Mack do whatever it takes to get him blocked. It's going to be an issue out there, though. You know, it's one thing to struggle inside. It's quite another thing on those edges. You have to block one-on-one more than you do with the center and guard position.
Stanton 7 of 8 for 50 yards. Everything short but on target. This time he goes long and it's not on target. It's incomplete. Looking for a flag is Jerron Brown, and there is a flag back at the 9-yard line. DJ Hayden was there. Clock stops with 2 seconds, and we'll see about the call.
I don't think there's any question that DJ Hayden at about 10 yards sort of hooked Brown going down the field.
He's had a rough preseason.
They have nowhere else to go. He has to play.
Pass interference. Defense number 25. Spot of the foul. Automatic. First down.
Sunday Night Football brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places by Black Mass from Warner Brothers Pictures in theaters everywhere. September the 18th. By the new Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge Plus and the new Note 5. And by U.S. Bank. So first down and 10 from the 13-yard line. And another flag. Penalty-filled third quarter. That's David Johnson.
Sort of ironic, isn't it, that with the second team offense.
Offside. Defense number 57. 5-yard penalty. Replay first down. That is the end of the third quarter.
Indeed it is. We go to the fourth. 15-10 Oakland on Sunday Night Football. Tonight's aerial coverage being brought to you by Geico as you look from the East Bay across San Francisco Bay, past the peninsula, onto the Pacific Ocean as the sun goes down over Northern California. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, and Michelle Tafoya, Oakland. Wrapping up third week of preseason football. 15-10. Oakland only touchdown in the game was an interception return by the Cardinals.
It's almost hard to believe that Arizona has a chance to go take the lead at this point. The game had been pretty one-sided the other way.
First and 5 from the 8-yard line. Drew Stanton has led this drive. And he floats one for a touchdown. David Johnson. That number 3 draft choice we've been talking about from Northern Iowa. The big back and a guy who can catch passes, and he proves it right there. 12 plays, 80 yards to take the lead.
Little pick play down inside and going to send Johnson out around the outside just enough to reroute Ben Henney, the inside linebacker. It was Jerron Brown who did a nice job, made no contact on the pick, but forced Henney back inside, and by doing that, led directly to the touchdown.
And with a 1-point lead, they'll go for 2, 48% in preseason from the 2-yard line, the 2-point conversion to try to give them a 3-point edge. Roll stand now, that one is way out of the end zone. So they settle for the 6. They lead by 1. We're 4 seconds into the fourth quarter. In Oakland, 16-15 Cardinals.
Wide receiver Jerron Brown going to get an assist on this one. Little rub play coming down inside. Going to take care of Henney without hitting him. Just force him underneath there and allow this swing route to get around for the touchdown. You don't need contact. Just redirect him a bit. Perfectly done. Great throw by Stanton. Easy touchdown.
Pick and roll.
Pick and roll.
Rub and roll. Yard into the end zone. Trendon Holiday is a great return guy. The question with him has always been, can he hang on to the football? And he takes it back out to the 23-yard line. So Arizona with its first lead of the night. Can they hold it? 16-15 in Oakland. Over the offseason, there were 7 head coaching changes, 7 of the 32 jobs changing hands in the league. Del Rio, one of the guys. You've got, of course, Rex Ryan going from the Jets, staying inside the division to Buffalo. Todd Bowles did such a great job with this Arizona defense that he got the head job in New York with the Jets. Gary Kubiak, who was a player in Denver, longtime coach there, then, of course, was coaching for Houston. Went to Baltimore last year as an assistant. And now he is back with Peyton Manning in Denver. And going deep downfield, too deep. Christian Ponder, incomplete. We go to Michelle.
Well, I corralled Larry Fitzgerald for an interview, and then he corralled John Brown because you wanted to talk this guy up. What's going on?
It's the future, right? This man's special. I mean, he saw a little glimpse of it today on his long go ball, but what he's been able to do in training camp and thus far in his short career is truly special. We're blessed to have him.
And what have you learned from Fitz?
Oh, I just learned from Fitz, go hard every day. And I just watch the way he practices, and everything he does it like game speed. So I just pay attention to him and I try to follow his ropes.
Okay, well, he just said you're the future, so I think you have a lot to live up to. Good luck.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Let me talk to you, Larry, about Carson Palmer. It's so important to keep the guy upright, and Bruce Arians was talking about his concerns with pass protection in the first half. How do you get that corrected heading into the opener?
Well, we just have to be sharp, all phases. No matter if it's hots and sights, blitz protection, everything that we need to be doing to keep him healthy and keep him clean this year is essential. You saw what we were able to do last year, getting off to the fast start. He's playing at a great clip for us. So it's essential to make sure he's protected and we can get the ball down the field.
Yeah, 9-1 with him healthy last year. What do you expect you can do this year?
Oh, we've added a couple pieces. I mean, we brought in Micah Potty. We drafted David Johnson. I mean, we have a plethora of offensive talent. This is up to us now to go out there and be able to utilize it and execute.
And you just signed a new contract with the team that appears it'll keep you in a Cardinals uniform for the rest of your career. What does that mean to you?
Well, it's nice to be able to play in one place and be able to be around guys like John and Michael Floyd and J.J. Nelson and see those guys grow up and see them get better every single day because of the hard work and dedication they put forth. And, at my age in my career now, it's really a lot of fun to see the young guys do it and still be able to play in the same place and have a lot of fun.
Your age does not keep you from traveling to places most people don't think of. Shark chasing, ultimate golfing. How do you pick these sites?
Well, I don't know, Michelle. I mean, I'm just a young Minnesota boy that like to have a good time. It's the world's a big place and try to see it.
You went to Russia. That's kind of a throw-in, But the shark. What was this shark chasing?
Well, I've always wanted to dive with some sharks, and I got a chance to do it this year. I've been trying to talk smoking and do it, but he don't like the water too much, though.
Well, maybe he can golf with you off a cliff.
He can't even swim.
Oh, well, then I'm with you, John, on that one. But golfing off a cliff?
It was the longest par 3 in the world. You got to experience it.
You're doing that. Hey, good luck to both of you. Thanks.
Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate you.
All right, thank you, Michelle. Some of the front office guys probably died with some of those pictures we just put up. Fitz lives life to the fullest.
He does. He really does. Good guy. He's a good leader for this football team, and Arizona did right by him as well. They've allowed him to have some fun in the offseason, but you can see the reason that they like to keep him around. He is a teacher. He's a leader. And he's really changed positions. He used to be that outside receiver. Now he's the inside move guy. You'll see him do a lot more little option routes where he can go up the field and break to the right or break to the left or stop and turn around depending on what the defense does. And Bruce Arians said he's gotten a lot better at it. He wasn't very good at it last year, so we're expecting good things.
The sack of Ponder by Ta'amu. He's going to go down again at the 17th. Kareem Martin with the sack. So Ponder comes in, incomplete on first down, and then 2 sacks.
Right there, going to get the older stunts in the book, and here comes Kareem Martin to come up with the sack. It is, I think playing offensive line is one of the hardest things in the world to do. And you talk about all the continuity all the time. You have to get used to working together, and that's what the Raiders were so excited about. And then for Menelik to get hurt in this ball game, I'm sure it's frustrating for him.
Flag was thrown at the snap. Clark's kick taken at the 28-yard line and run back to the 37 by Jackson Shipley. Steratores made a number of calls tonight, especially here in the second half. Gene was rivaling Ed Hockley for biceps for a while. but it looks like he's sloughed off at the gym.
Back to playing golf.
Yeah.
Nickel formation, kicking team number 55. That 5-yard penalty will be added to the end of the run. First down, Arizona. Timeout.
Cards get it. At about the 36-yard line, 1-point lead. Sunday Night Football being brought to you by Kia Sorrento, the perfect getaway vehicle. By Sicario, starring Emily Blunt, Benicio del Toro, and Josh Brolin, everywhere October 2nd. And by Verizon, one plan, 4 sizes, the simple way to get the best network. That's the alma mater of Jack Del Rio here by Hayward High School. For an action Friday night on the defending state champions Campo Lindo High. So Jack comes home, first-year head coach of the Oakland Raiders, and right now you've got a new quarterback in the game. This is Philip Sims, across the 50 to the 48-yard line. Gerald Question is the receiver. So Philip Sims went to 3 different schools. He's looked pretty good so far in preseason.
Yeah, he did. And now we've got a good battle out on the outside going here. We talked about DJ Humphries. He's the guy that was the #1 draft pick, and then Mario Edwards Jr. was the #2 pick of the Raiders, and they're matched up head-to-head now going at it.
From the 48-yard line, Sims, who finished up in college at Winston-Salem State, got the #3 job and gives it to Kerwin Williams. So here's the kid. I mean, Logan Thomas was the guy, and Logan last year wound up as the backup quarterback to Ryan Lindley down the stretch. Winston-Salem State. He started at Alabama, left there, went to Virginia in 2012. And there were his numbers last year, and he has looked impressive in his 2 brief outings in Arizona's first 2 games.
I thought he was tremendous last week. Watch how tight his throwing motion is. He's a big, strong guy. He can move. I thought he was so accurate in that game last week. I didn't know who he was, and put on the tape, and all I kept saying was, who is this guy?
Phil Sims.
Yeah, Phil Sims. I should have known. And there he was, and I'm really anxious to see if he can do it again, because if he puts on tape this week what he put on tape last week, he may not end up with the Cardinals, but he's going to end up on somebody's team, practice squad or something.
At the 38-yard line, under 10 to play, Arizona 1-point lead. Handoff to Stephon Taylor. Let's go to Michelle.
Well, I'm with Charles Woodson, and I talked to your coach, Jack Del Rio, at halftime. He really liked the defensive performance in the first half. What did you take away from it?
Yeah, I thought guys flew around. You know, we got to the ball, had a couple 3-and-outs, got ourselves off the field. Now, that was really a bad part of our defense last year, was being able to get off the field on 3rd downs. We weren't able to do it, so it was good to go out there this first half and do that.
Khalil Mack, thoughts?
He's going to be special. I mean, he has no clue, you know, how good he can possibly be yet. You know, but he'll get there. He'll grow into his own, and this year he'll grow up a lot.
On opening day, you will be the 7th defensive player in NFL history to play in his 18th season. How do you keep doing this?
I don't know. I told you yesterday, man. I'm not sure. You know, why it's happening or how it's happening. You know, I work hard to keep myself in shape and ready to go. You know, every year, and so here I am.
Well, you've been around and seen a lot, and a big picture question for you. What does it take? What attributes does a coach need to be really successful in the NFL?
I think you got to be able to know your players. I think it's important to know your players, understand where you need to put guys, who's going to put you in the best position to win. And if you're able to know people, know personalities, I think that's the thing that gets you over the hump. You know, aside from knowing the game, knowing the X's and O's, it's about knowing the people, knowing your personnel. And if you do a great job with that, you'll do fine.
And how do you feel Jack Del Rio fits that mold?
I think he's doing well. I think the greatest thing for him is that he's done it before. You know, he was a head coach before in Jacksonville. And, you know, I talked to him earlier in the year, and he said that the great thing about, you know, coaching and doing it once before is, you know what you need going into it. So to ask for those things now instead of going through the growing pains and going through how many years he coached down there. He knows exactly what he needs, and he's been doing a great job of getting us in the mindset of winning now and not waiting for later.
Well, we're going to watch with great interest, and we'll watch your 18th season as well. Charles, congratulations.
Thanks a lot. And to my boys at home, wide open nachos.
Hey, Michelle, just a couple of more questions.
Yeah.
How much longer, and what's his life after football going to be like?
How much longer are you going to do this, Al Michaels wants to know, and what's your life going to be like afterward?
I don't know. I'm going to do it as long as Al Michaels is doing it. I'm going to do it. You tell him that.
He hears it.
After football, I'm not sure. I'm still enjoying what's going on right now. I'll worry about that later.
Yeah, well, you have a nice winery going on right now, not
yeah.
part two, so maybe some more Cabernet grapes?
Yeah, Cabernet, Sauvignon Blanc, Charles Woodson wines.
Nice plug. Hey, thanks a lot.
All right, thanks a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, just a terrific player. We've covered him, so many times through the years, dozens of times, Oakland and Green Bay, and just a class act off the field as well.
Class act and smart. You don't make it this long in the game unless you know what's happening. And now at age 38, he understands offensive play like he's a defensive coordinator. Gets those guys in the right spot, and a great opportunity for these young Raiders to figure things out.
2nd and 4. Play action, and then that did them no harm at all that was dropped. It would have been a loss instead it's incomplete. Intended for the tight end Moma.
Ivani Moma is a guy. We asked Carson Palmer, and I said, okay, give me one guy I need to know about on this offense that I may not know that much about. Ivani Moma, number 80 right there, 6'7", is about 270 pounds. Looks skinny as a rail. Looks like he weighs about 220 or something. But he can block. He has good effort. He can get down the field. He's a deep threat. They really feel like that on the opposite side of Darren Fells, they have something at the tight end position they haven't had before.
Blitz coming, and Sims rolls out. Sims looking for that first down, and he finds it. So Philip Sims, Virginia kid. I mean, just think of this. If he, as we take a look at the play again, rolling out, if he someday becomes a superstar, then the other Phil Sims will become the other Phil Sims.
I just want to hear Phil Sims, the announcer, calling Phil Sims the quarterback, and it'll be ridiculous.
Might happen. Remember Keith Jackson, the tight end, of course?
Right.
He was at Oklahoma, and the announcer, the great announcer, Keith Jackson. For the first time he did a game with him, he said, Keith Jackson with the touchdown. No relation. First and goal. Just get the snap off, and then little screen goes to Kerwin Williams. Swinging to the outside, Arizona touchdown. So Philip Sims leads him down the field. He goes 3 of 4 on the drive. They run off 10 plays for 59 yards.
Sometimes it's just not that hard. You go down here and turn around. Got man coverage behind it. He can't get there. Get the blocker out front and you walk it in. Now, there wasn't any brilliant pass that was thrown in that drive, but it just seems like every time Sims is on the field, they're going the length of the field and scoring touchdowns.
So now the extra point, snapped from the 15, kicked from the 23, and that is good. We have 5:44 remaining in the 4th quarter in Oakland. Arizona now up 23 to 15 on Sunday Night Football. Jordan Spieth headlines the field. The PGA Tour's best. 2nd round of the FedEx Cup playoffs heads to Boston. Deutsche Bank Championship begins Friday on Golf Channel. 1 Eastern time. Tournament coverage at 2:30. Coverage on NBC next Sunday at 3 Eastern. So Deutsche Bank Championship on the East Coast. And you see the sun going down over the West Coast. Outside the Bay Area. 5 yards into the end zone. Kick is run back. Good tackle made up at the 16-yard line.
George Atkinson on the kickoff return.
Atkinson with the return. And we'll see what Oakland can do with the ball now. 5:39 to go in the 4th. Strained hamstring, and that's why Chris Johnson has a towel around him. He's in civvies. They hope to have him back by opening day. They signed him. He had a spectacular 4 or 5 years with Tennessee, then with the Jets last year. In the offseason, he was released. He was then involved in a drive-by shooting in Orlando, got shot in the shoulder. But here he is, signed by Arizona about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and trying to work his way into shape and show them what he has. Matt McGloin is the new quarterback. Swing pass to the outside. Let's go to Michelle.
Well, speaking of that drive-by, unfortunately, the driver of the car Chris Johnson was in was killed. The bullet struck Johnson in the shoulder, as you said, and he was on bed rest for 6 weeks, lost 20 pounds, and that bullet struck a nerve that left his right hand numb. He couldn't use it at all. The decision was made, though, to leave the bullet in his shoulder, which he told me doesn't bother him now. He just got the feeling back in that right hand about 2 months ago and has been able to work out and get back to his playing weight right around 202. But he does say he plans to play in the final preseason game, at least for now, Al.
Yeah, that's one guy that they do want to take a look at. Normally you keep your top players out of the game, but they want to take at least one look at him in midweek when they go to Denver.
It's really not necessarily a bad thing that he's not playing in this one. Gives him another week of practice, get a feel. So I think you get a pretty true look, but usually in that last preseason game, not a lot of starters. Good chance that Chris Johnson is going to stick out in that game.
3rd and 5 now. From the 22, McGloin, the number 3 quarterback. And he will convert here on a pass to Michael Dyer, rookie out of Louisville, trying to win a spot on the rosters. Look pretty good in preseason.
Well, Michael Dyer, he's a guy that when he was at Auburn was the MVP in the national championship game, right? And then ended up getting suspended and transferred schools and landed in Louisville. And so the real highlights of his career came in his first couple of years and then sort of fell off the radar screen a bit, and now back out here with the Raiders.
Caught by Butler. Nice tackle, but you got a penalty flag here. C.J. Roberts able to knife through some traffic to make the tackle.
You know, this is always that point in the game where you go, okay, the stars are out of the game. And
personal foul, face mask, defense number 36, 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
Well, Roberts got there for the tackle, but it cost him 15.
But I also typically in this part of the preseason game, you see an uptick in play, or at least in the emotional level of play, because these guys are fighting for their chance to be a part of a National Football League team. And these coaches, this is when they start locking in too, because they probably each have 47, 48 guys that they know are going to make their roster. And the last 5 guys on their team are out there playing right now, and they're trying to find them.
It's the bubble in the 48. Swing it out, Richardson. They want to look as much as they can at Richardson. He's a guy you talk about on the bubble. That's one of the guys where do you keep him? Do you not keep? What do you do with him?
Yeah, and a play like that's a pretty good example. I think he's a little bit more of a power guy because he was in space, and it's one of those you hope that he can make that first guy miss there. You know, if you're the number 3 overall pick, you're saying, all right, he's got the ball in space. Let's see him make this guy miss. You know, and he got close, but it was an arm tackle that ultimately brought him down.
2nd and 8. Protected well. Swing pass to the outside. Richardson again, but not much. Gabe Martin, number 50, makes the tackle with 3.5 to go.
I'll tell you one thing I've learned from James Betcher and his play calling tonight is he is going to send people from everywhere. I mean, there have been stunts and games and corners and safeties and different blitz packages, and you're going to see it all. So if there were any concerns that it was going to be different than it was under Todd Bowles, it's not.
Bowles noted for not only blitzing, very often blitzing defensive backs. And that is caught. Seth Roberts going downfield and running to the sideline and hauls it in on a 3rd and 8 to keep the drive alive.
Well, that was some play by Matt McGloin right there. He threw this ball well before The break took place by the wide receiver again, bringing pressure out of the secondary, and he just kind of lobbed it up, knowing that his receiver was going to break out here. But this happened really early. Put a little air under that ball. Just nice quarterback play there.
Hey, go right here, 59.
On target with his first 6 passes. Not that time. Oh boy, nobody.
That had a chance, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
They pump fake over to the right. Everybody moved, and there were offensive linemen out in front, and it looked like this was going to go on for days. This one, all the action going this way, and then coming back the other way. They had that first guy blocked, and a little convoy in front just missed the throw.
Tried to get it into Richardson, so it's his first incomplete pass. It is 2nd down and 10.
Hey, we're going to go 50. Good.
Flip it out again. And trying to pick up the first down is George Atkinson III. That's a pretty familiar name in these parts. And he is close to a first down. Let's see where they're going to spot the ball. He got it. First down.
George Atkinson played at Notre Dame. I got a chance to see him there plenty, and returned a couple of kickoffs, and that had to be 2 of the fastest kickoff returns I ever saw in my life for touchdowns. He can fly.
From the 20. Now you got a penalty before the snap.
Might get a little bonus football here tonight.
Illegal snap, offense, number 70. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
I know what you have in mind.
Touchdown, little 2-point conversion.
Right. Everybody's got all their timeouts.
Yeah, we got a couple more stories we want to tell too.
Right.
Good.
Yeah. We'll even make them up if we have to. 1st and 15 to 25.
Come on, man.
Seth Roberts breaks away and gets forced out of bounds inside the 10-yard line. Broke away from C.J. Roberts.
A lot of pressure coming, which means one-on-one on the outside, and they're playing off coverage. So just a quick little turn and throw, and if the first guy misses the tackle, there you go. Seth Roberts very much in the competition for one of those wide receiver positions, and he's played well here in the 4th quarter.
1st and goal from the 9. Loin surveys, sends, throws it away, and another penalty.
Yeah, well, sometimes on the screen pass coming out of the backfield, you'll see a defender grab the running back.
Holding, defense, number 96. Half the distance to the goal, automatic. First down.
It's a Kareem Martin.
Right here, and I think as the back comes out and through, Martin sees it's going to be a screen and takes him down, kind of, sort of.
Maybe.
Possible.
Debatable. First and goal. Incomplete at the goal line. Pembroke Tompkins looks around, and this time there is no penalty. It's 2nd down and goal.
Well, we haven't seen any change in strategy, have we? James Betcher just keeps firing those blitzes. I would expect this one to be some sort of a pick play. You've got to take advantage, some kind of bunch, something like that. It's like a pitcher in baseball. If you can figure out what he's going to call, then you can make the appropriate play call against it. But this one feels not quite as man-to-man blitzish as some of those other ones do.
Going to the end zone, and that is caught for a touchdown to get to within 2. Chris Durham holds it in to make it a 2-point game, and obviously they'll be going for the deuce.
Chris Durham out here on the side. Again, the slot getting in space, but that time Matt McGloin moved to his right a little bit to make that an easier angle. So now the defensive back is expecting it to come from the pocket. Instead, it comes more straight down the line, made that pass much easier. Good job that entire drive, really, by Matt McGloin.
83 yards, 12 plays. McGloin 9 of 11 through the air. 2-point conversion to try to tie the game.
Now the blitz is coming.
Okay, line.
Backs up.
Yeah, McGloin changed the play.
And throws, and that will be pulled in for the conversion by Bryce Butler. So the number 3 quarterback leads them down the field. 2-point conversion is good. 2:18 to go. We're tied at 23.
Good stuff from Matt McGloin that entire drive, and maybe saved his best for last. Saw this all-out blitz look. Sees it all coming over here. All right, check. Come over, got this man coverage on the outside. Let me just throw one quickly in the flat. Pick it up. Tie ball game. Derek Carr understood everything that happened right there. And a lot of times it's not how you throw it. It's which play does the quarterback get you into or out of that can decide football games.
This time a free agent kicker. This is Giorgio Tavecchio. This Comets ball up the road in Berkeley. He sends a bouncing ball to the end zone. Scooped up. Jackson Shipley will come out to the 19-yard line. Penalty. Only been 12 penalties in the game. It only seems like about, what, 130?
Yeah, believe it or not, this is exactly what
During
Bruce
the return,
Arians wanted.
Holding return team number 49. Half the distance to the goal. First down, Arizona.
You want to see your quarterbacks in tough situations. Now backed up. See exactly what Logan Thomas can bring. Defensively, though, you're thinking here we get an interception, a fumble, hold them, punt. We have plenty of time to put that game winner up.
Thomas, like Philip Sims, a Virginia kid. Born in Lynchburg, went to Virginia Tech. Starts this drive from the 9-yard line. And that's batted down at the line of scrimmage. Looked like Stacey McGee got his hand up. 92, 2nd and 10.
Well, the good news for Logan Thomas is he's got his starting right tackle in the game. They now have Bobby Massey out there in the game, who, because of the suspension, is playing at the end of the game. So maybe their best pass blocker, playing right tackle, is in the game in the final 2 minutes.
Thomas almost gets sacked, then does, but there's another flag again. Shelby Harris got in there.
Personal foul. Face mask. Defense number 75. 15-yard penalty. Automatic. First down.
So Harris gets the sack, but it's erased on the penalty.
All right, Lapio right there is going to step to the outside, and then Harris going to beat him back to the inside. Unfortunately for him, Grab that helmet.
Takes the ball out to the 24-yard line. 2:04 left in regulation. Thomas goes down from behind at the 18-yard line. Mario Edwards, number 2 draft choice, rookie from Florida State. Thomas comes limping off the field at the 2-minute warning with the score: Arizona 23, Oakland 23.
Raiders number 2 pick Mario Edwards Jr. having a big night tonight, and unfortunately DJ Humphries, the number 1 pick for the Arizona Cardinals, once again struggling. He had been playing right tackle. They moved him back to his natural left tackle position, and the result continues to be the same for the number 1 pick.
So with 1:58 remaining, 2nd down and 16 from the 18-yard line. Four-man rush over the middle. That picks up a good chunk of the yardage, and fighting his way before he's gang tackled and still on his feet and coming close to a first down is Momar, the tight end. Looked like he was about 6 yards short. The next thing you know, he's almost there.
What a great job by Ifeani Momar. There you see what Carson Palmer was talking about, the X factor in this offense this year.
And he gets the first. Even though it's a 3rd and 1, they gave him the first down. Great effort. He was stopped about 6 yards short. The next thing you know, with 16 yards to pick up, he gets those other 6 plus.
I mean, he dragged at least 3 or 4 guys 3 or 4 yards to pick up that first down. That was terrific.
Now 2nd down 10, 34-yard line. Minute and a half remaining. Thomas throws, seeking the first down, getting it. That's Shipley, a rookie from Texas, free agent, takes it to the 45-yard line. Cardinals take a timeout at first.
Yeah.
Arizona, tell you what, they better get off to a good start this year because of the way the schedule breaks for them. 3 of their first 4 games are at home against New Orleans, San Francisco, and St. Louis. Only road game at Chicago. But then in the middle of the season, they will play 6 of their next 8 on the road. Several of them in the Eastern time zone. And then when they come home, they have 3 of the last 4 at home. So a lot of home games early, a lot of home games late. But the middle of the season, 6 out of 8 away. From the 45. And that's caught. Oh, again, look at him go. And he is taken down from behind the 16-yard line by Tevin McDonald. Wow.
How good has he been? He picks up that first down, makes a key block to get the next first down, and then catches one that takes a lot of guts, takes a big shot, bounces off 2 of them. His helmet has to get readjusted. Can't see, running blind. He's about to win a football game for him.
Momar, free agent. There's a nice run through the middle of the 12-yard line. That's Marion Grice. And now Oakland is compelled to take a timeout to try to save some time on the back end. Clearly well within field goal range.
That was almost the Jason Witten play. And remember, if his helmet comes off, the play's over, so he pulls it back down and takes off again. That was a fantastic series. In between what you missed was he threw a key block on the first down right before that to pick up that one. So 3 straight plays now by Ifeani Momar to turn this game.
Guy signed with the Eagles back in 13. He was released. Signed again with him in 14, released. Cleveland Browns practice squad released. Detroit practice squad released. Lions again. Just keeps getting released, but he's made a pretty good mark tonight.
Yeah, wide receiver in college and finally made the move into tight end, and I think he's got it right now.
Grice is the running back. They can just take some time off the clock, make Oakland use its timeouts. Instead, Grice goes to the outside to the 11-yard line. They make it 3rd down and 4. Catanzaro is the kicker. 37 seconds. Oakland takes another timeout, so they have 1 remaining.
Yeah, you look at it and you go, that's just an extra point.
We were talking about the Arizona schedule. Meanwhile, for the Raiders, take a look at that. They will play 6 of their 16 games this season at 10 a.m. Pacific time, either at 1 o'clock Eastern or 12 o'clock Central. All of those games right after breakfast.
Yeah, those are tough. Just a matter of which division you're playing sometimes, how that plays out with the schedule makers.
Well, also because of their lack of success, the league doesn't put them into the late window. Otherwise, those games would be at 1 o'clock Pacific time. Through the middle and taking it all the way into the end zone goes Grice for the touchdown. With 31 seconds remaining, Grice takes it all the way in, and the Arizona Cardinals, a stuttering start on the drive, but then they got it going. They go 91 yards in 9 plays.
Antoine McLean right here. Watch the block he throws. They get the double team, then off on the linebacker. It was his block that keyed that entire thing. He got 2 of the blocks on the play that made it, and then Grice did the rest. That was some drive.
Catanzaro for the extra point. And with 31 seconds remaining, and Oakland getting the ball, they have 1 timeout. And there's the tight end who made his presence very much felt on this drive.
As good as it gets for Ifeani Moma. This play was spectacular, dragging people for a first down on a long yardage situation. Here comes the block on the little under route, sees the catch made, gets the block on Heaney, comes right back and takes one right underneath the chin and keeps on trucking down the field. Spectacular one-man show by Ifeani Moma. Fantasy football week is upon us, and I think he just got a little attention.
But first he's got to make the team, and that did not hurt.
Odds on.
Yep.
American Pharaoh-ish.
So the Raiders will have to go the length of the field and do it rapidly. And if they do, I guarantee you they're going for 2.
Absolutely.
I guarantee you. So Atkinson back to receive the kick. And he will be able to run this one back from a yard in the end zone. And the Golden Domer takes it back out to the 23. That took 5 seconds for that run back. 26 seconds left. All right, coming up a week from Thursday, it's for real. We will go to Foxborough. It's Pittsburgh against New England. Then we go to Arlington, Texas. 3 nights later, Giants Cowboys is our first Sunday night game. Quite a way to start the 2015 season right here on NBC.
What are the odds we see Tom Brady?
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
I'm going to say 75% yes. And I don't even know how.
I was going to ask you, what are you basing that on?
Legal.
Okay.
Some appeals to some court to something.
You have a law degree.
Yeah.
Intended for Robertson out of bounds. 19 seconds. You know, at this point, I mean, there's a hearing tomorrow. Maybe we'll know, maybe we won't.
Doctors on the sideline, I'm sure, chatting with Ifeani Moma because of that hit to the head that he took.
And that was a dump pass over the middle. And taking it out to the 40-yard line, but that takes us down to 10 seconds is Atkinson. They've got one more timeout. And they will take it right here. So we're down to a play or two left.
So much better about this subject right now than they used to be, right?
Well,
they are all over the concussion issue, and they even have spotters upstairs now. So if the doctors don't see it on the field for some reason, or the officials don't see it, and there's a player that looks like he needs help, they'll buzz down, get the player off the field, and rightly so, paying a lot of attention to that concussion issue.
61 yards from the end zone with 10 seconds. Well, pass to Streeter. It chews up 4 seconds, so 6 seconds remaining. So the Arizona Cardinals will head back to go to Denver on Thursday. Final preseason game, then open at home against Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints on the opening Sunday. And Oakland opens up with 2 games at home, both against the AFC North, Cincinnati and Baltimore.
Find out who they are right away, because this team, the way they played defense in the first half, they'll be able to slug it out with those 2 teams.
And a little Cal Stanford action here. Why not? We're in the neighborhood. As Gabe Holmes takes the ball to the 33, and time expires. It's the end of the 3rd week of preseason. Final score is Arizona 30, Oakland 23. Coming up next, except on the West Coast, local news, Dateline at midnight Eastern. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle Tafoya, our entire gang, Fred Godelli, Drew Escott, we're all back together, ready to bring us Sunday Night Football. We start on Thursday from Foxborough, a week from Thursday. Until then, good night from Oakland.